This is the battle of the most luxurious EV SUVs. So the best luxury electric SUVs out there, including the BMW iX, the Tesla Model X, the Mercedes EQS SUV, the Mercedes EQE SUV, and the Audi Q8 e-tron. Of course, the Tesla Model X uses a dedicated EV platform. They only build electric vehicles, and recently the Model X has been updated majorly with the new Plaid version and also the new long-range version, both with news on technology and also especially on the interior. The BMW iX also uses a special EV platform and has a completely new interior concept for BMW, whereas the Audi Q8 e-tron was recently renamed and is still using somewhat of a mix of the old existing platform and the new EV platform, so not the super new dedicated EV platform. Will this have any disadvantages? We'll find out very soon. The new Mercedes EQS and EQE models, they do use a dedicated EV platform, and these two SUVs are more or less the same vehicles, they just differ in length indeed. The EQS SUV, of course, a little bit longer and also higher in price, and also longer in wheelbase actually. The EQE SUV, here also as a short presentation, is also available in the AMG version, a little bit shorter in wheelbase and length, but in the front they are more or less identical. And indeed all these competitors have more or less the same length, just that the EQS SUV is a little bit longer than all of them, and the EQE SUV is a little bit shorter than all of them. So let's dig deeper into the pros and cons of these electric luxury SUVs. Let's find out which one is the best, which one might be the most suitable for you, and which one is your favorite. Join us in discussion in the comments. And now, let's go. Did the glove box just open and everything fall out of the glove box? You can scream, it's okay. You just hold your breath, right? The Tesla Model X receives an intensive update or even facelift, and the new Plaid version, the most powerful one. And here was Thomas and Autogefühl for you in 4K, full screen and full length. That's how you watch our channel. We'll tell you all about it. What you need to know, is this still the benchmark of EV SUVs? Here in the lower part, this part was before black in a separate piece. Now the whole front is basically one piece here in the lower end. So a more aerodynamic and also fluent design. And one of the aerodynamic pieces is also here in the side part, this air curtain. The air is being channeled through, goes in here and really exits then here in the wheel arch. So even better aerodynamics, better efficiency for the Model X, together with new headlamps. 5.04 or 198 inches is the length of the Model X. This has remained the same, but changes here in the side profile. In general, for the update or for the facelift, both also for the Plaid model here. Blacked out frames, so the chrome delete as they call it. So it looks sportier, more sinister. Also then here the door handles are in black. Wheels here then also in black, and either 20 or 22 inch. These ones here are the bigger 22 inch wheels. So overall a sportier, more present look for this Model X. Interesting also technology wise, so you either get the normal dual motor concept or in the most powerful Plaid concept, then you have 3 motors in general, because you have 2 at the rear axle, 1 at each wheel, and that enables even better torque vectoring. Overall more than 1,000 horsepower of power output. We'll also then tell you later more about the acceleration in the driving part. Air suspension is standard, so you also have a more comfortable ride than in the Tesla Model Y, the smaller SUV. As for the rear, usually I'm not a fan of black details, because to me it looks sometimes a little bit over the top. But here for the Tesla models, I think it looks indeed more premium when these details here are blacked out somehow. Because the Model X especially, it doesn't look that sporty overall, but with these black accentuations, I think it fits here very, very well. Are you team black accentuations and black wheels? Tell me in the comments. Or team chrome? decide for yourself. Top speed here, by the way, for the Plaid model, even a little bit faster overall, here at 260 kilometers an hour or 160 miles an hour. Even for German Autobahn, more than enough. And as for the battery size, it remains at 100 kilowatt hours net. And in the Model X should bring us just an approximate average, like 450 kilometers or 270, 280 miles. So not as far as the Model S, because this one is not as efficient as the Model S. The acceleration figures, around 4 seconds for the normal model, 2.5 seconds for the Plaid model. Yeah, but the thing is, they do it with this rolling start. So in comparison to other manufacturers, these are kind of like, these figures are a little bit nicened up. So it will be a little, a couple of tenths slower than these official figures. But if you use this acceleration, you have to recharge at some point. And here the charging flap is in the rear, 250 kilowatt of a charging peak. Here then AC/DC charging, here the supercharger, and supposed to be a little bit less than 30 minutes then from 10 to 80% state of charge. Doors open here, and you can't really show the door closing sound because here the electric motor pushes it a little bit open, and you also work against this soft close, so slamming it is not a good idea. So indeed here this is then the soft close of the doors. Then inside of the doors, new materials here, really good. All soft touch. This is all the whole interior is now animal free as well. And here the fabric inserts, look at that, this looks pretty premium. Also behind it, 22 speakers overall in the vehicle, new premium sound system. This is here how you open the door now, or close it. You've seen it. You can also close it with that, but also with pressing of the brake pedal. And then here, of course, one of the biggest news is this yoke steering wheel. It is open on the top here. So you have a better view to the digital instruments, but is it also better or worse for handling? We will find out in the driving part. Seats here now perforated once again, and that means also the seat cooling is available. And this perforation here looks cool, it feels really nicely, and this is a very good soft quality, so improve the build quality here as well. And this is another example of how to go animal free, but at the same time high quality and without losing any luxury, more gaining luxury. Seating position, nice upright, very comfortable. And the new seats here, ergonomics and also the material, this is really a good plus, definitely way more comfortable than the ones before. So I think a very, very good upgrade indeed. And everything from the controls, most of it is done in the touchscreen. And then, for example, you can also control the side mirrors from here, or when you want to adjust the steering wheel, you have to click it in the menu, and then you can also go like here in and out then with the button on the steering wheel. Also here for this yoke steering wheel, Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y customers will know how this works. And first impression of the yoke steering is weirdo a little bit, definitely. It's quite wide also. It feels like, in like a computer game or something. I wonder how it is, when you ease the car in and out of a parking lot. We'll also try that in the driving part later. New interior overview, really impressive. And you see here the screen is now horizontal, like in the Model Y or Model 3. Very interesting. At the moment, the central view. But however, when you go into display, then you can also tilt it towards the driver, and that way you can really better see that. And when the car is stationary, you can also tilt it towards the passenger, actually, when you want to watch something or control something. That's a cool thing, but for you to see it better here in the static part, I leave it then in this center thing. Soon more details to the infotainment system. Here, definitely, once again, the view on the yoke steering wheel. It is a cool view to the digital instruments, yes. And the good thing about X and S is, in contrast to Model 3 and Model Y, you have digital instruments. And I think it's essential to see that, and not only the speed up there. 2 inductive charging pads are still here, and you now also put the key card there to drive the car right there. And one thing that is really new as well is there is no stall column here whatsoever. Here, by the way, is now the drive mode selector. Slide it forward in the screen, then you can drive forward, slide it backward in the screen, then you drive reverse. However, there's still one alternative. When you press this lower bar here, these buttons appear for parking, reverse, neutral, and D, so you can also use it here in the lower area. To me, I think I would still rather use this. Turning indicators are also on the steering wheel here with these capacitive buttons, but they give you some kind of feedback, and yeah, I think it's not too bad. And on the right side here for the cruise control, and here also for the voice input, a separate button now. And then here the instruments, they change when you have it in drive. Then you see the speed right here. So pretty clear and crisp, everything I need, and definitely prefer to see the speed while driving. And when you have the navigation set, on the left side you also see a small map. The screen here with the map integration, wow, that's really responsive. Way to go. It's really, really very cool. And then once again here with drive, reverse or park. Here you can also open the doors, for example, or the front or the trunk. And in this classic car menu, as you know from Tesla, here you can set your settings here, for example, the flat acceleration mode, or also if you want to go for chill, a little bit more drawn back, for example. Lights, here you can also activate the daytime running lights. When we're filming outside, we like to do that. Display, you can also change the brightness. This at the moment the dark mode. There's also the light mode, but for camera filming, it's sometimes just too bright, or you can leave it on auto, then it's automatically adjusted. As for the climate unit, here also you switch between heat and cool. That way I can activate the seat cooling or seat ventilation, and here then the seat heating. Both at the same time, not really possible. Or voice control, activate seat heating. There we go. And the voice control really works very, very nicely. And this is also direct access to the rear view camera here. They still don't offer Apple CarPlay and Android Auto because they say, hey, our system is the best ever, and then we don't need Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I don't agree with that. Their system is really cool, offers a lot of possibilities, but I think you should still give the customer a CarPlay connection if customer wants to. By the way, if you see these weird lighting effects in the screen, that is just on camera and not for your real eye. There we see it, but it's really just on camera. You don't see it with your eyes. Lower middle console, still 2 inductive charging pads for your phone. And then this is kind of like a split opening. You slide this one open here, or you can also slide it to half, like this. And then even further, this one open and the cup holders away. And then there's more space underneath. And then under the armrests, just lift it like this and even more space. And here when I want to get out again, here, press the door and you see here, it almost opens completely. It's a very good comfort feature. And then when I hit the brake, I can close the door. It's a very nice comfort feature indeed. But what happens when someone is standing on the outside? A small kick. And when you close the door here, what about that? Yeah, you feel it, but it doesn't hurt that much. Yes, these Falcon doors are still very spectacular, and you see they also can open in quite narrow spaces, narrower than you think actually. And here with 1.89 m or 6'2", I can still stand underneath them. So the setup is 5-seater, 6-seater or 7-seater for the Tesla Model X. That has been unchanged. Unless you go here for the most powerful plaid version, then there's only the 6-seater. And the space behind the driver's seat is actually, put that all in the back, is not that plentiful. So when I'm driving here, you see it does work with the legroom, but it's not too far. Yes, I'm always using a lot of seat space, so it does work for tall adults, but close actually. What about the headroom? So when you come a little bit closer, and you can also come here inside and see here behind this seat, the thing is like there is this glass roof here also, and then you still have enough headroom left. So here, here it's just a little bit closer. And by the way, if you've seen that I'm a little bit banged up, yeah, actually I had an accident in soccer practice, so I got shot literally, and so I look a little bit that I was, in a fight. So I began soccer practice now more intensively again since Germany dropped out of the World Cup. I think there need to be some replacement players, right? So, and a good thing here with the 6-seater is you can basically go through here. The kids love it, actually. You can install ISOFIX child seats here and here, but then you can basically crouch through here through the next bench. You now also get here this screen in the rear, and there you can, for example, control the vents here, and that looks really fancy. And for this digital solution, it's quite easy to control. So gone are the manual days for the vents. More and more manufacturers go in this direction indeed to control the vents by that. By the way, this screen will also be used for streaming, so you can also watch then here in the rear while driving. For example, watch some Autogefühl, of course. There we go. Yay! And hit subscribe if you haven't done so far. And while I am watching the newest episode here, oh, by the way, here subtitles. We always offer now English subtitles as well to turn off or on, depending on your liking. So if you have a problem with hearing, that's of course for you. Or maybe also when you are in a situation where you can't listen to sound, then you also have the subtitles. And in the lower part here, 2 USB-C chargers and cup holders. They fold out in a premium way. Also, you know, have a little bit flexible here. So it's actually a very nice solution. And here in the third seating row, yeah, I can squeeze myself through here. No ISOFIX. And well, as a tall person, you cannot fit here behind these seats with your legs, but I can squeeze my legs somewhere here in the middle, so at least you can go somewhere. For emergency situations, it works. It's more the case of children that are not that small, that they still need a child seat, but not as tall yet. So something in between, and then you just have this flexibility. You know, the German manufacturers with their EVs quite often do not offer a frunk. Here, of course, they do. A lot of space then here also in that front trunk, means trunk. And now the trunk, here we go. And the width here is about 1 meter or 40 inches, that's good. Here a cabin trolley fits in behind the third seating row as well. You press these buttons then here to release them, head restraints fold, and then you can push them like this. Then you have this normal trunk length, which is to these seats here. It's like 115 in meters or 45 inches. And this is then here a very big hole in the trunk, like really massive space. Then of course also for charging cables and so on. And well, you could move these here a little bit more forward. And the advantage of the through bench is that you can fold it, but in this case then here with the captain seats in the 6-seater setup. Well guys, I want to start this Thomas's driving lounge with the Tesla Model X with the German Autobahn, because this is the Plaid model and we know it from Spaceballs. Just after Ludicrous, there's only Plaid, this grid. And well, when we're getting on the German Autobahn here from 40 kilometers an hour, let's see if I'm in a safe way. We have a lot of traffic here today, so we have to wait a little bit behind this one, and let's go. Did the glove box just open and everything fall out of the glove box? You can scream, it's okay. You just hold your breath, right? Did that just happen? Okay, from 80 kilometers an hour, one more time. Holy 140. Oh my gosh. And now from 100 kilometers an hour, let's see if it's still something. And that's 200. Oh my goodness. Oh. You know, I'm used to driving fast cars, but this is getting the adrenaline heating up for me as well. Oh, whew. Yeah, that was something incredible. And I really have to check the time codes for the acceleration in there. That is really something. So it is not something for everyday driving. And yeah, indeed, it is so fast that it's not that safe to do it. Definitely not. So please don't repeat this at home. Yeah, at home, of course, but you know what I mean. So For everyday driving life, I would rather, even a little bit dizzy now in a way. Wow, that is like here. You can also pick the chill mode, for example, and then when you accelerate, then, the throttle is just a little bit delayed. But however, you can always push it through. It's a little bit more still, but even then, you don't get the full acceleration, even when pushing it through. So in chill mode, it's really chilled out, is definitely more relaxed. Sport would be something in between. And Plaid then, I want to raise that 350Z. And Plaid then, of course, with the full performance, full acceleration. But that is something out of this world indeed. Here now, the yoke steering on the motorway is actually quite good. So that's no problem at all. Also, when you do some lane changes here, for example, then it's fine. And then I'm really positive about it because it kind of enables me a better view to the front, not only to the instruments, but also here it's unobstructed. So I really like it on the motorway. And as for the reactions here, it's quite direct indeed. And for the lane changes is all fine. I think it's really later on go on depth than on parking in and out on the parking lot and so on. But here for the motorway, it's actually totally fine. And maybe also one more step towards this autonomous plan that Elon Musk has. And suspension-wise on the motorway, since we have the air suspension here, we have good comfort also, especially this air suspension is working well when you have some waves, that everything is even out. Still, it's set on a more or less sporty tone that you don't have too much shaking up effect. The thing is with sedans versus SUVs, when you start driving, they always first feel more comfortable here in these SUVs. But then when you drive a little bit longer, this shaking up effect of a higher center of gravity can be a problem. However, since we have the all EV here, batteries are placed in the lower part, and then the center of gravity is also low, and therefore you also don't have too much difference between SUV driving and sedan driving in electric vehicles. That's definitely a very interesting thing to have. The overview here, by the way, is quite good. Also the view to the sides. Just a small back mirror here has always been the thing with the Model X to the rear view there. It's a little bit limited as for this respect. Cruise control, one click for the normal cruise control, then you just set the speed, and double click, like you had this double click on the stalk column before, for the autopilot feature. And again, autopilot doesn't mean it's full self-driving yet in a way. However, it has active lane keeping assist right here. You are still supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel, but you see here it also holds the lane, but never trust 100% in it. And now we are free to go once again for acceleration. Let's see. Yeah, we may go for before this one. Now from 100 kilometers an hour, one more acceleration. You ready? Oh God. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. It's like nothing. It's really like nothing. Yeah. And when this white bomb comes from behind, you better make free way for this one. Wow. It feels kind of futuristic as well to control it with the yoke steering wheel. So it has, to me, not only pros and not only cons, it has both basically. And yeah, this one here, Model X and Model S, especially since you don't have this sound feedback, it is one of these vehicles, because it's so extreme in the acceleration, that it tends to make you a little bit sick, even though when you're the driver. Usually it's just the problem of the passenger. You still okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so there's a way to impress your passengers. So, yeah, but this car is really, it can make you sick while being a driver. Usually it's just a passenger problem, because the passenger doesn't know when, you start to accelerate, when you start to steer and so on. But here it's so extreme and you don't have that sound feedback, so this can actually happen. But it's a lot of fun. It's great to steer around, really direct. You have to be careful with the steering, because especially at higher speeds, it's not that natural. It's more like an arcade feeling, computer game feeling, fits to the yoke steering wheel. So then when you're driving fast, there are kind of sudden steering movement, so you have to be really gentle. And also when you want to keep, want to care about your passengers, be also gentle with the throttle and gentle with the brakes and with the recuperation and so on, because otherwise they will get sick a little bit more. So especially because there's always hard recuperation here with the Teslas. You lift your foot off the throttle, there's significant deceleration. Oh, and there's another Tesla Model X behind us. There you can also see the pre-facelift, pre-update changes. Yeah, you can't see that here at the moment, but there's like this black bar in the lower part. Very good to see that. So thank you for driving behind us, that I can compare it. Wow. Whew, what an adrenaline ride here on the German Autobahn, on the motorway. There's the Tesla Model X, that's our take. Oh, and also with the chrome and so on, there you can once again see the difference. Wow, yeah, a lot of fun here also with the lane changes. Definitely a performance fun mobile. When you drive that fast, really use that acceleration, then of course you're also higher in the energy consumption. Yeah, most of the time probably you won't use it every day, but when you have, or when you need the power, then you always know you always have it more than enough and more than anything other combustion powered here on the road. Well, what about easing this car in and out of the parking lot? So I feel like a real shifting lever is always a more connected experience to the vehicle. So it works here with the screen, but I'm not too happy with it. But it's also not the big problem or something. But here then, when I think that the steering wheel concept here, it could be cooler when it's a little bit smaller, I would say. And then here easing the car in and out of the parking lot. I'm not sure how it looks like on camera, but it kind of feels a little bit weird. Yes, you will get used to it, definitely. And here, for example, the good camera system here, but it doesn't feel that natural when you're going left and right again. So for parking in and out, I would definitely prefer a normal steering wheel that you can, better grab around and so on. That doesn't feel that good. However, when you then start normal driving and so on and do like this and this, then it's actually no problem. Of course, the better view to the screen here is only when you have it straight like this. As soon as you go like this, then it's really, really blocking everything. Kind of a little bit of mixed feelings about this yoke steering wheel. I would really be interested to hear your opinion from, maybe you have already tried it yourself in your Model S or your Model X, and if not, what do you think from seeing this then here while we steer it around? Is it something that you would fancy, or is it something that what you say like when it's like this? No, I don't want that at all actually. So then here a little bit of city or street driving. Also with the turning indicators, it takes a little time to get used to that. Here, for example, it doesn't feel that safe while driving, you know what I mean? Yes, when you are in a Formula 1 car and have this kind of steering wheel, it's cool in a way, but they are also a little bit more progressive then, so maybe more progressiveness would be cooler than here for this steering wheel. Yeah, the turning indicator thing, you get used to that, and visually that everything is reduced with no stall columns and so on. That's actually also a cool thing in a way. But it also reduces, once again, physical interaction with the car. I do get these new technologies and so on, but for me, myself, I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but I like more physical interaction, yes, with humans as well, as with vehicles. So I like to touch things, you know. I think that's a human thing, so I'm not sure if this kind of like dehumanizing the vehicles, if all of that technology really adds up to an advantage, you know what I mean? By the way, I'm still in this plaid mode, and when you are gently controlling the throttle, it does work, it's no problem, you can get along with that. However, if you're not on a demo tour with your friends or here showing off in the car review, I would rather recommend to get to the chill driving mode, because then you just drive this car in a more relaxed way. It will also be then a little bit more efficient because you don't hammer the throttle that much. And in the parking lot, for example, everything just will be smoother from the reaction. As for the comfort while city driving, by the way, so I still try to... Where is that? Where is that? Ah, yes, I have to press it. Yeah, that's one thing you will get used to, definitely, over time. So as for the suspension here, when you have some smaller bumps on the roads and so on, air suspension is definitely good to have it, and it's better than in the Model Y, like 100 times better than in the Model Y, where you don't have air suspension. But here with the 22-inch wheels, that's with every brand, when you have these extremely large wheels, you feel these small bumps in the road a little bit more. So for more comfort, I would advise to stick with the small 20-inch wheels. Yes, you lose the visual show effect, but you will gain comfort. And back on the motorway here, the aerodynamic form of the Model X also plays a good role. For example, it's also reasonably silent in here, and they now also use active noise cancellation here in that interior. Really interesting, because I'm usually not a fan of that. In a lot of vehicles so far, it has been a very unnatural experience. So you felt like you have this vacuum next to your ear. Here, it is very, very silent in here, but they haven't integrated in such a strong way that you would have this strong vacuum effect next to your ear. So I think so far it's fine. What about you? Do you think it's okay, or do you feel like any unnatural vacuum feels? So yeah, she also agrees, and yeah, that really brings down the noise level even further. And what about the fuel economy? Of course, always fuel economy. Yeah, that's what we always say. Energy economy then in this case. Always depends, of course. And now I try to go more like cruise control motorway, more steady speeds and so on. And then, of course, you can score some good figures around, some 22 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So some 30-something kilowatt hours on 100 miles. That indeed confirms this earlier estimate of round about 450 kilometers of range, or like 280 miles. So once again, the Model S will come a little bit further. You can also bring this one further if you drive super efficient, have more low speed experience and so on. And of course, if you use this acceleration all the time and high speed, then the range will drop down. Very interesting or important fact is here also, it is quite cold here today, and we still score these figures. So first of all, and motorway, so aerodynamics top, and also this new heat pump. Model S and Model X get the heat pump now, and that's why we also don't have a bad effect now here in winter. So this heat pump system reduces the difference between summer and winter range of these electric vehicles. So a very good feature to have. So it's not a new SUV at all here, but with all these updates they have done, I really say I'm impressed. They have stepped up the game and put it really into a modern era here without changing the model like completely, without presenting an all-new model. They've really made very, very good and significant updates. So overall, I think this sets it back to one of the benchmark EV SUVs here in this segment. The BMW iX, in my standardized German review, BMW's big EV SUV, range test in wintertime, recharging, fast charging test, and of course an Autobahn special here in Germany. Let's go! A massive stance here in the front with that BMW double kidney. Is it still a double kidney? It might be even a mono kidney, isn't it? And with this closed look and also this anti-scratch surface, so it can heal itself when it's really hot outside or when you use a hairdryer. I've tested that out and it really works. It's kind of magic indeed. These are here, by the way, these plastic 3D number plates, and they're even supposed to be more sustainable because they're lighter and also they take less materials, less resources to produce actually. The headlamp unit with nice daytime running light, LED is standard, and option you can also get laser lights with extended high beam function. Then you also have these blue accentuations on the inside. And what's also pretty cool is this, the cleaning effect for the front and the rear view camera. So in the front, a very spectacular effect, and also in the rear, that looks really fancy, isn't it? You might wonder, does this thing in the front open? No, it doesn't. No frunk. With a length of 4.95 meters or 195 inches, it has the length of the X5, is as flat as the X6 and has big wheels just like the X7 indeed. In this case here the optional 22-inch wheels. And we have a mineral white car with black frames and around the windows, Sportback, and also the iX stamping it with separating the roof and the rest of the body. The normal version, the entry version, which you can get with a smaller battery, also starts with an adaptive suspension without air suspension actually. But here, this is kind of also the entry level in the US, the X550. That one automatically comes with air suspension, also the rear axle steering and also the bigger battery, 105 kilowatt hours net. I'm not really okay with the front double or mono kidney design. However, the rear, I think the design is really cool. Here, slim tail lamps, great integration. I just love it. So, although it's a big car, it doesn't look that bulky in the rear, I think. But it does split opinion. What's your take? Mineral white is this one, but we already had a Phytonic blue vehicle. And there's also a Sophisto gray vehicle we had in our test. And the sports performance version, the M60, we have here in Storm Bay Metallic. That's also a very fancy color. The sporty difference of that M version, however, is somewhat limited. So a realistic winter consumption, motorway driving, steady speed, so actually in a rather efficient way, but around freezing temperatures here, 29 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That would be rather less than 400 kilometers or less than 250 miles of winter range. However, what you can always do very well with BMWs here, since factory consumption, so the whole 3,800 kilometers this vehicle has been running so far, and there we have this average, 26 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, that's around 40 kilowatt hours on 100 miles, and that would be exactly 400 kilometers and 250 miles. Well, most of the time, you know, it was rather cold when this vehicle was running. Better consumption figures in summertime. Only in ideal summer conditions you can score some 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers or then some 32 kilowatt hours on 100 miles at nice summer temperatures and steady speed. Then this vehicle also does some 550 kilometers or 350 miles of range. What's really interesting is we will do a test now, a comparison test in charging. We'll start with a rather cold battery, just little driving around, and then afterwards speed it up on the motorway and then do it again and see what's the difference, 10 to 80%. This will be very interesting. So I had quite some effort to put this car exactly to 10% state of charge. Now here at the fast charger, this is kind of like, you know, unlimited speed almost. This can do like, I think 350 kilowatt or something. So the car is the limit, 200 kilowatt max peak. Let's see what we can score. And we are starting at around 100 kilowatt. I did do search for vehicle charging stations and added it into the results so the car knows I'm fast charging. BMW says also the car does need that to precondition the battery. However, I did get no confirmation from the car that it's being done, so I don't really know if the battery was preconditioned or not. That is always something that is lacking actually. And what I also found is that at first search, just AC stations were being shown, although both were in the list. So I then filtered it here basically to DC only, and then actually my desired station was appearing. And you can see obviously the precondition either didn't work or it maybe wasn't long enough or something. We remain at about 100 kilowatt, which is not bad actually. But of course the car is capable of more. So meanwhile we picked up speed at around 140 kilowatt. So we have now 10 to 30% in about 15 minutes. Couldn't hold that peak for too long. Now we are already dropping down again. We have something more than 80 kilowatt hours, or then now 80% state of charge in almost 52 minutes. And now one more time, the battery is now properly preheated. I really boosted it on the motorway. It has to be really hot now. let's see which difference we can score. And you can see the charging power immediately hops way higher, 164 kilowatt already. There we go, already reaching the peak. So yeah, we can already see right now this will be a massive difference. So there was a slight error in the charging process now. I had to restart it actually. Here also when you restart that process, immediately is already at the high peak. There we go, nice 170 kilowatt, the peak charging. Here about 60% state of charge. Power drops slightly to about 120 kilowatt. Closing to 80%, here with 80 kilowatt still. Here we go, although we had this charging error in between, just over 30 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. And you know, if you combine this one here with the amount we charged before, so around 80 kilowatt hours net into the battery right there, back in these just over 30 minutes. Comparable result to the Mercedes EQS actually. And so actually quite competitive. Again, it needs to be preheated. You need to speed it up on the motorway that the battery is actually warm enough or just drive for a long enough time. And indeed, 20 minutes difference is actually when it's cold or at the proper temperature. 20 minutes different, either 30 minutes or 50 minutes charging. Cockpit overview, super clean. Visually, that is really lovely, isn't it? The steering wheel has a very, let's say, interesting form. It looks futuristic, but is it really better to grip and handle? No. Really? So I was talking about the steering wheel and the voice assistant just got activated and is now suggesting me this? Have you seen that? Is that real?
Should I connect you to the concierge services?
No.
All right.
And you also have this effect here, where basically two screens dissolve into one visually. Of course, they are two separate ones, but looks definitely cool. At the steering wheel, you have here the volume control. And it does give you some feedback. However, it's this kind of glossy area. This is for the voice input here, and this is for settings then, both for head-up display and the instruments. Left side for the cruise control is a mix of a hard button and some capacitive things. Well, are they capacitive? Yeah, I mean, more or less, I would say it's kind of like a mix. And as a comparison, this is the interior. Then at daytime and at darkness or nighttime, of course, more ambient lighting features come alive then. These are the animal skin seats that, of course, doesn't fit to a modern EV, but they have plenty of sensor tech choice in different colors. We already saw the beige one, was really beautiful. Then there's also a fabric wool mix available as alternative, but I would probably stick with the bright sensor tech seats. Seating position here in the front, upright, comfortable, and you also have these comfort functions that the steering wheel, for example, lifts down and towards you then. When you start up the vehicle, you have this electric control here. Interesting form for sure. Headroom with 1.86 or 6.1, no problem right here. And of course that panoramic roof. So overall quite cool and comfortable here in the front. The seat control at the inside of the door looks fancy, and it also still moves, unlike at Mercedes. Here again this crystalline scheme, but also here I would recommend to stick with the base scheme because it does not reflect light. Here once again it can blind you while driving depending on where the sun is coming in. Lower middle console here with adaptive cup holders, then two USB-C chargers, and the inductive charging pad for your phone is interesting because it also indeed has these holes where the air is being sucked away so that the phone doesn't overheat like we know from 5 Series or X5 or so. Then here in this upper user interface, middle console area, I have my basement garage beeper in here, but you could also fit a smartphone there. Then you have this turning pressing knob. It has good feedback and Thomas DJ. So some hotkeys, matte wood background. This crystalline look, by the way, is optional. So you can also get the more basic one, and I would recommend the base one because this one here does give you some reflections when there's sunlight coming in. Then the drive selector, you can also go to the B mode then by putting it one more time behind. This is then still a volume jog. It just flickers on camera, by the way. And here is the My Mode selection for the driving modes, which is to me too complicated because then you have to press it in the lower console, and then you have to select the mode. So always 2 steps, and then it stays like this. So if you want to go back to the GPS, for example, you have to press the back button in the middle console and go back to the CarPlay, or I have to hit the nav button again. Why? Recuperation here, by the way, you can see here it always goes down then here when you drive to this adaptive mode. In the normal D mode, I can also put it to the B mode. This is then more or less one pedal driving. The D mode, however, is also very interesting because that one is kind of like an adaptive mode for recuperation. So the car is rolling when there's no one in front of you, and it is harder recuperating, doing this regenerative braking, when there's a car in front of you. And that could be a good solution between the old discussion, is one pedal driving better or is rolling and then regenerative braking on demand better? This here, this compromise in between is, to me, at this moment, the best solution. Screen, by the way, only flickers on camera. And here, let's listen to this 4D sound system, Bowers & Wilkins. And you do get a very interesting sound. And this also has vibrations in the seats, for example, at the bass moments. But then again, I think that the sound is great, but not worth another 4,000 or 5,000 euros extra in comparison to the Harman Kardon sound system. So there's bass, Harman Kardon, and then Bowers & Wilkins. So I would stick with the Harman Kardon sound system because I think it's also, you know, they have a long-term BMW partnership, and I somehow think that the sound itself fits more to the brand. Well, in operating system 8, I have to say I found the OS 7 better. Here, the new one. Look at that, how many apps you have here. Then you can filter it, by the way, for example, here just for vehicle apps. But there are so many things that are more complicated than before. The climate control, for example. I used to have a button at the steering wheel for the heated steering wheel. Now I have to go into the climate menu and then do it here like this. Would there be an alternative with the voice assistant? Maybe, let's see. Heated steering wheel.
Sure, I will activate the steering wheel heating.
Okay, so that is the alternative. So make things more complicated, and then maybe voice recognition is a solution. However, here you cannot turn off the AC function, so like the dehumidization. So sometimes I like to drive without AC function on, but just have the ventilation on. Not possible here anymore, actually. And what's also very important is you can turn off these, these driving sounds, for example. And the thing is always like, where do you have to search for that? Now, like when you say, like, oh, I want to have the BMW iconic sounds off. So where would I do that? Live vehicle, maybe? No, these are like the recent city consumption. And then it's always like, okay, what am I doing now? Okay, is it maybe vehicle apps? Is it system settings? Is it, what is it actually? Driving settings? That might be, right? Here's iconic sounds. But, there we go. And then iconic sounds off. Okay. However, this startup sound then by Hans Zimmer as well, this thing here. And back again. This cannot be deactivated. Yeah, and you can see here the climate unit went into the screen for such a solution. It's actually quite okay because it always stays there. Still no really buttons. One good thing of the OS 8, however, here it does not only support Apple CarPlay but also Android Auto. There is one big advantage to OS 8, however, here. When you have the Apple Maps from Apple CarPlay running, then it can also be projected right into the instrument cluster. Not possible with Google Maps though, sadly. Just with Apple Maps. Well, and this is how Apple CarPlay also can look like. Speaking of BMW OS 8. The glove box, by the way, opens here. It's not really intuitive and really small. And then we have the middle armrest area here, split opening and some more space. Here the electrochromatic shade in that panoramic roof. That is very spectacular, isn't it? Something of the ambient lighting you can already see from the interior. For example, here then at the doors. Oh, and the voice assistant is trying to tell me something.
Should I connect
So
you to
the
console?
voice assistant, not sure if you hear it, is still trying to tell me something while I'm filming. And here you can see at the rear,
Should I connect
has
you to the I'm sorry.
the voice assistant is telling us something all the time. I'm not sure what is going on there. Okay, then here you can see no middle tunnel in the rear. That's of course cool and leaves you a lot of space then. You sit indeed quite comfortably in the rear. Enough legroom is left even when there's a tall driver, and headroom wise with 1,86 m or 6'1", also no problem, and a good view then through the panoramic roof. The bench is kinda short, so for tall people it could be a little bit longer, also quite plush, but overall the offering of space is really cool. And also in the middle part, since there's no middle tunnel, EV platform, you can easily then overall house 5 tall adults. Well, and here in the rear area we find a bit of old school classic BMW, because here that rear climate unit, that is still something to touch for real. Yeah, that's kind of like a luxury now for the rear passengers, isn't it? And you can also get 2 USB-C chargers for the rear, and this is then like a mount for rear seat entertainment. That trunk area houses 500 up to 1,750 liters, and I prepared something for you here with a cabin trolley. And this is 1.40 meters in length and in width, good dimensions, and the total height here is about 75 centimeters or 29 inches. Below the cover, 45 centimeters or 18 inches. And here you have a space for your charging cable, for example, so that's coming quite handy actually. And here also with a click mechanism, good build quality actually. And then we can also fold the seats. I'm doing it on the right side here, and I can do it simultaneously. Look at that. So that is folding really, really nicely, all the way flat. And even the voice assistant is being activated from the rear here. I cannot believe it. And this is almost 2 meters. So it's like 1.90 meters or 75 inches. And I have to speak a little bit louder so you don't hear the voice assistant. I didn't quite understand you. Oh my God. Hey, what's up? Thomas's Driving Lounge with the BMW iX xDrive 50. So 2 electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear. We go to the My Modes drive selection. Select Sports Mode. The screen actually stays where it is actually. So 4.5 seconds is the official acceleration figure, and we'll do a rolling start from 40 kilometers an hour. See how that thing rockets us forward. And let's go. 100. 150. And 200 almost. Because that one in the front won't make way, but this was pretty quick, right? Really spontaneous acceleration, and some sound noises here from the BMW Iconic Sounds, as it's called. And when I'm talking about BMW Iconic Sounds, the voice assistant gets activated.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
I have the experience that the voice assistant is constantly activated. Not sure if they think that people don't talk in the car. Yeah, very interesting. Here, lane change at higher speeds, super stable, and it's also extremely silent in here. So that is very notable. Really, really cool. By the way, I've tested before about the high speed consumption, and that's usually around double the energy consumption than you normally have as an average. That means with this vehicle you can go somewhat a little bit less than 200 kilometers or less than 125 miles at full at around 200 kilometers or 125 miles. That's pretty interesting, right? About the normal consumption figures, a little bit more than we've already seen earlier on. Yeah, I can just stress again, the winter is paying its toll, although this does have a heat pump. That's the thing. Now we're getting into tunnel, and you see the driving mode selection stays where it is. So once again, here while driving, it's so complicated. My modes, then activate the driving mode, then it stays there, and if I'm having the GPS running, then I have to deactivate that screen or go back somewhere like this or hit nav or something. I don't get it. I mean, has no BMW test driver ever driven this vehicle before releasing it on the market? and switched to the driving mode and realized, what is this? You know, I don't get it. But here, ambient lighting is pretty cool at the windows. This is really fancy, and this vehicle delivers such a smooth and flawless ride. I mean, really spontaneous acceleration. It's one of the most silent cars overall we've been driving, and you have to say, here at high speeds, no, the car will get dirty, just put it to the car wash. Damn it. Yeah, here the road is still wet. So this car is so silent, and at high speeds we don't have any engine noise covering something up, you know. Being an EV, well, maybe with these iconic sounds, but that's basically it. But there you feel how silent this car is really, you know, laid out to be. Extremely awesome, and good steering feeling, really nice. Air suspension is doing a good job. A little bit stiffer in the sport mode, so we have a little bit more feedback. Normal mode, then it is actually a little bit more forgiving and softer. So what a great setup by suspension, steering, noise insulation, performance, and the overall feeling for the vehicle. The seats could deliver a little bit more side support, I would say. So you tend to fly around in them, especially on the animal skin equipment, a lot actually, when you are in some faster corners. Essential to the driving is also the rear axle steering. We will experience more of that later on, but already here you can kind of feel, also when I'm coming to that 90 degree berm, then it feels a little bit artificial as rear axle steering do, but you feel that the rear is basically coming around a little bit, and also when you're going like in slalom like here. At lower speeds it steers the rear wheels in the opposite direction than the front wheels, and this massively reduces the turning circle. I had one situation in the city earlier where with some vehicles I cannot do a U-turn in one step, and this is a massive vehicle size-wise. And here U-turning is no problem at all because of that rear axle steering. Dual electric motor, air suspension and rear axle steering that means it's like the integral active steering, they call it. This is actually standard here for this model, otherwise optional for the lower battery entry model. So here you basically get the full package. Yeah, also when you accelerate out of the corners, really nice and smooth. Rear, that's beautiful, beautiful. Rear axle bias still. I can just stress again, it's a big, heavy EV, but it feels so light and agile. Also really worth to tune in to my Alpine, spiraling roads or winding roads special I had at the other review. That was also a lot of fun to watch. To tune into that if you're interested at a later stage, of course. Here, heading one more time to the tunnel, I can tell you more about assistance systems. You activate them here, left side of steering wheel, and then you can set either normal distance control, that's possible, a speed limiter, or the assisted driving mode. And in the assisted driving mode, then we also have the active lane keeping assist. And you can see here, I'm supposed to keep my hands on the steering wheel. It's level 2 autonomous driving or automated driving. And here we have a slight left turn inside the tunnel, and there's hardly any visible steering movement from the vehicle. So it really keeps me in the lane in a very smooth and non-obstructive way. That is lovely done. My mode selection, once again, sport mode. When we are already at speed, is there something left in the EV tank for that? 90 kilometers an hour, let's go. Woo. 200 kilometers an hour now, and it is on, everyone. Wow. Really awesome. Wow, how well this car is behaving here at higher speeds. And still, it's relatively silent considering this is like notable speed. I mean, yeah, welcome to Germany. It's like German Autobahn and like everything on like, okay, what else? And that's also enough speed for today. Just letting the car roll now. Massive rolling power now, of course. And on the brakes, sometimes there can be problems with EVs that the brake blending, so it's called, is not that good. So the transition between where the recuperation ends or is at highest stage and the real brakes are being applied. And here so far a very smooth and controlled feeling indeed. So can't complain about that at all. It really feels very natural. So all the hardware facts they've put here into this vehicle, you really feel that all that experience from decades, of BMW vehicle building went into this vehicle. Although it's basically an all new one, and they don't have so much experience with these EVs.
Pardon?
Not pardon. I'm not talking to you, man. Or in this case, woman. Sorry, lady.
Please try it.
The hell?
Which of these areas would you like to learn more about?
None. I'm just talking to the guys at the screen, sitting at home or whatever, or being on the way. You're not part of this, are you? Well, we can ask her something, right? What do you think about Mercedes?
I'll leave that up to you. As a digital assistant, I can afford not to have my own opinion on everything.
She can't afford to have her own opinion on everything. Well, this is a very diplomatic answer. And we know these answers also from Mercedes. I would have wished they would have been a little bit more daring, and saying like, yeah, screw them, or something like this. That would have been fun, right? Okay, back to countryside driving here. Once again, I love that smooth driving feeling. People have asked me, Thomas, what about BMW iX3 versus iX? The iX3, based on that X3, is more or less a normal vehicle to drive, just with the electric drivetrain, also quite good efficiency figures. And then the all-new iX with that separate, platform, you can then put bigger battery in it and so on, and efficiency, blah, 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 blah. And what did I do now? Yeah, and that drives me to the point. This is an awesome vehicle, and it's actually one of the best EVs out there with, in many different aspects. Not maybe the winter range or winter efficiency, but everything else is really awesome. But what I do appreciate with the iX3 is that it's a normal car, This vehicle here has a lot of things we already realized while driving, which scream out like, hey, let's change things because we want to change things and not because it's better. The steering wheel looks awesome and futuristic. Is it better to handle? No. That the climate unit went into the touchscreen looks cleaner. Is it better to control? No. The BMW OS 8 looks fancier. Yes, you can use Apple Maps in the instruments. You have more functionalities. Is it easier to use? No. And you can add this and this and this and this and this, and then
Try one more time.
the hell? What? Did I even mention BMW? Did I in some
Which
way?
one of the destinations shall I select? Which one should I select?
Now I'm driving to Belgium? Why? Did I at some point mention hello BMW in my speech? Did I? I mean, and this is exactly the reason I really love this vehicle. I love the drive. It's awesome, no doubt. But for this exact reason and the reason I just mentioned, I would actually take a step back, save the money, get the iX3. Big problem is that the Harman Kardon sound system, and I think there was the panoramic roof as well, you can only get in high trim, and then it's connected with animal skin seats. The hell? So I take an iX3 with Sensatek seats. Steering wheel is also not animal free, neither in the iX here nor in the iX3, also a favorite BMW, but I would still take the iX3 for being more simple. In the iX3, I can get in the vehicle, I know exactly what I'm doing, where is what. It never fails any user interface command I'm giving, no matter how I do that. The voice control is already working, the infotainment has a good overview. It's almost a perfect EV, besides, you know, some animal skin and trim combination issues, especially for our friends in the UK. The iX3 is awesome. This one is also awesome, but the user interface is really getting on my nerves. They have made it more complicated than necessary. That's the problem, and I'm not willing to pay double the price for a car that is harder to be controlled. That's the thing. So if you ask yourself iX3 versus iX, save the money, get the iX3, you'll be happy. Other than that, if you compare this one here, for example, to a Mercedes EQS, this one it is, because this one is still easier to handle than the Mercedes
Please
EQS.
try once again, in surroundings that are as quiet as possible.
Sorry about that. Talking about the EQS versus the BMW iX. So I would still take the iX because the ride is just more awesome. It is still easier to handle. Especially in the US, you have more options for animal-free seating, for example, than with the EQS. And overall, I feel it's a more fun and more desirable vehicle. And it will be compared, of course, to the EQS SUV, which you will also see here on Autogefühl very soon. So subscribe if you haven't done it so far. Yeah, but overall, I mean, just the feeling, you know, and the comfort. The EQS is not good in driving comfort. It's even worse in winter efficiency. So the EQS, to me, a little bit of a hit and miss at this moment. I don't know, maybe they had to rush things or something. Probably the improved one will maybe be better than at this stage. And here also the more, I think, better usable vehicle overall. So yes, still, I love it. I love to drive it. It's a spectacular vehicle, no doubt, with the shortcomings I've just mentioned. And the voice assistant is running. I mean, I'm almost... Can you cancel the voice assistant? Oh, speed camera here.
Sorry, I didn't. Please retry.
Please.
Also.
I hope I was slow enough. Man, because they put like a 20 kilometer speed limit here. Well, it didn't flash, did it? Did you see any flashing here? I didn't, you know. So yeah, gotta pay attention to that and call all my friends living in the area here. warning, there's a speed camera coming. Yeah, back to the vehicle. Once again, here in the corners with the rear axis steering, feels really amazing. Rear axis steering is one of the advantages, of course. Also, if you compare some of the competitor models. So, still enjoying the ride very, very much. But it is something we can talk about for hours and hours and hours. Indeed, this is also what makes this car so special. I mean, when you look at this review and also our earlier review, so many things we can say about this vehicle, so many things to discuss. That's what I really appreciate. It is the farthest you can imagine from being a boring vehicle and from being standard. And I think this is also something that BMW intended to do, you know. The same they intended with the new double kidney they introduced with the 4 Series. Talked to the designer at that stage and he said like, okay, my task was that people talk about BMW design again. And the same thing they also achieved by putting the BMW iX on the road. People are massively talking about BMW again. That's what this vehicle is also for. What you see here in the front, that there is the new Tesla factory, Berlin Giga, Berlin Brandenburg, Grünheide. So, and we are here with the BMW Performance SUV. This is nuts. And actually what we can also show you on this parking lot is actually here. Look at that. Is this year the best electric performance SUV, the BMW iX M60, here on Autogefühl with Thomas. Let's go. And by the way, we'll also have Brian later on with his take on this vehicle. Here Oxide grey is this interesting color, and the M60 doesn't look too different from the normal iX version, but it has these Titan bronze accentuations in that front double kidney or mono kidney. Yeah, you know, I always have to shave also here in the middle that I don't get the monobrow, so maybe the iX should do that as well, right? And here the headlamps, LED of course standard, optional you can get the laser lights and then the very slim daytime running light right here. The length at 4 meters 95 or 195 inches, so full-size SUV. Usually it would start with 20-inch wheels. The M60 version starts 21-inch wheels, and here the optional biggest one, 22-inch wheels, really massive, and once again the Titan bronze accentuations. In the M60 also the special badge, black contrast in the lower part, so it automatically gets the M Sport package you can also get for the normal iX, and then once again Titan bronze also here. You can, however, if you don't like that, also go for the shadow line, and then everything that would be in Titan bronze here would be just plain black for a more sinister look. Interesting that the air suspension is standard for all the iX models, and this one, the M60, also gets the rear axle steering as standard as well. And the air suspension is a little bit stiffer here for a sportier tone. And a new feature is that the rear electric motor, so it's one in the front, one in the rear, and the rear electric motor is a little bit different, even hardware-wise, tuned to that performance of 1,100 Newton meters of torque and 619 horsepower. And whereas the normal iX all-wheel drive model goes 4.6 seconds in the acceleration, 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, this one here goes 3.8. 0.2 of that is done via the new launch control, which also has a hardware shaking function to make it even more exciting. We will experience that for you. Here the rear, the lamps really slim, and once again the Titan bronze accentuations, and also a very clean design in the lower part with some, you know, diffuser styling. And we also have more color choices for you. This one here is Aventurine Red. Of course, the Titan bronze accentuations are a little bit more present than in this case. What about the range? We already had a lot of experience with the iX, with the normal all-wheel drive model. This one might have a little bit less of that range because of more performance. However, roundabout 400 kilometers or 250 miles in wintertime, and you can score some 550 kilometers or 350 miles in summertime. And one of my favorite colors for the iX is here the Storm Bay Metallic, really beautiful color, and the Titan bronze accentuations in the M60 look even cooler in this case than as a contrast, I think. What about the top speed? The xDrive 50 is limited to 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. Here the M60 unlocked to 250 kilometers an hour or 155 miles an hour. And about recharging, 11 kilowatt AC or 195 kilowatt DC charging peak right here. Also nice covers here, that is well done, that's how you do it. And well, about the state of charge, 10 to 80%. Well, that can be done in 35 minutes in optimum case. But you have to speed it up on the motorway that the battery is warm enough, it's preheated. There's also preheating function. It is when you put a charging station in the GPS, but that then can take about up to 30 minutes that the battery is at temperature while driving. So most use cases will be you ham it on the motorway, then the battery is warm enough, and then you can go for some proper fast charging. In the other test, we also did a concise charging test, so you can check out the other video of that one later as well. And one of the favorite features, look at that. The camera cleaning function, really spectacular, isn't it? But static here now, yeah, look at that. What a mess. But look at that, in the rear, it's actually even more spectacular. And yeah, once again, you should only do that when the car is already dirty overall.
Thomas asked me to step out from behind the camera just to tell you a couple of things I really like and maybe a couple of things I don't like quite so much about this car. So we have to start at the front and talk about this. Well, according to BMW, they need this much real estate to cram in all of the sensors and, what I don't think the camera can quite pick up, these heating elements here and here, which make sure that the car functions properly in colder temperatures. Well, you know what, guys? No other manufacturer seems to need quite this much room, and to my way of looking at it, it kind of looks a little bit like an afterthought. Something that they put onto the front of the car while they were waiting to figure out what they were going to do, but didn't quite get round to. But that's just my personal taste. And it wouldn't stop me from appreciating the rest of the design As you come round to the side and the rear of the car, everything really works for me an awful lot better.
To open the vehicle, either use the key fob, which has these special colors here for the M60, or use the smartphone with the app. That's both possible, but I'm clearly Team key fob. What about you? And I'm definitely also Team Titan Bronze. This is special and looks cool because the shadow line then with the black accentuations you can get for so many different vehicles. So are you Team Shadow Line or Team Titan Bronze? Tell me in the comments. Door closing sound, frameless doors. Yeah, and that's also the reason it sounds really weird when closing it. However, we have cool interior materials. This is all animal-free sensor tech right here, and it's really soft and feels great. So everyone that is telling us, you can't make animal-free, great, high-class interior, it's not true. You can do it. BMW shows it right here. Interesting, by the way, that these crystalline applications right here, these are optional. And you can also get them rather plain. And I would also take the base, the plain option for that, because these here, they look cool, but they do have some blinding effect in sunlight. Seating choice today, we have the beige sensor tech. It looks great and it feels great, and also has the perforation for a better climate comfort, so especially in summertime. I would actually go for these here indeed. They're also available in black or in brown, that's possible. And then you also have a fabric microfiber wool share mix available and 2 animal skin options, sadly still. But these here are definitely way to go. Seating position, high, upright, command driving position here in the SUV, and with 1.89 m or 6'2". Yes, if you haven't heard, I have grown a little bit, obviously. Here, still some headroom left, although this is also the one with the panoramic roof. However, well, it's a fixed one in this case, so it does not cost you headroom. This is the thing then with the fixed glass roofs. They don't cost you headroom, but then you also can't open them. Steering wheel up and down, electronic way, and also in and out. And these seats are really very comfortable indeed. Interior overview, really clean. Soft touch leatherette sensor tech dashboard. It's really cool. And you have this floating display, a little bit curved. 14.9 inch on the right, 12.3 inch on the left. This is standard. The steering wheel has this strange form. It looks cool, but is it better to handle? Definitely no. I would just prefer a normal form of that one. But here, once again, the cool, like these golden accentuations, and still a mix of, some real buttons at least. The middle console is also worth taking a look at, and soon more to the screens. In the digital instruments, you now have special iconic sound design here. Ooh, it's more bass intensive. I think it sounds way better than normal iconic sound startup. Yeah, awesome, stronger. Then you have here on the left side speed, right side is also this, this is e-power meter, but you can also change the views a little bit. For example, here you have the layout and change the whole layout with that. Yeah, I mean, you basically once set your favorite thing and that's kind of it. And you can also have this map integration. And look at that, if you have CarPlay and the Maps app, then it can also be displayed here in the digital instruments. That's a helpful feature. However, it does only work with the Apple Maps app, not with Google Maps, at least on the Apple. And here we can see it in Android Auto. It does work with Google Maps here on the instruments. So that's the difference. Interesting. Why is that so? Infotainment, BMW OS 8, and everything looks cool, but I think still it's harder to use than OS 7. It has more functions, but also it's more complicated than. Here the climate unit is integrated right here. They want you to use like the voice control and then change it. That's possible. Set temperature to 23 degrees.
I will set the temperature.
Yeah, there we go. So that works, but I just prefer to use manual knobs for that. At least it always stays in this position. On the left side you have these hotkeys. That's so okay. Therefore you can also, for example, hop to the GPS map. But then here, there's like an overflow, so many different things you can actually do here. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay is standard actually, if they can supply that at this moment. You maybe heard that with newer software versions, they're waiting on an upgrade for that. But here with this vehicle, no problem. Integration really big. Here we have these 13 speakers, 4D Bowers & Wilkins sound system, and it's indeed a great sound, really lovely. However, I think the Harman Kardon system more fits to BMW from the sound experience, and it's also less expensive. At the same time, also delivers a great sound. So overall, yes, it does the job. You see, it's also very responsive. It's fast enough. Here, let's take a look at the car internal GPS. Here it takes something low. This is the new airport here close to Berlin. So overall, I'm okay with the software, but I still prefer the old school BMW OS 7. Is it just me? Tell me in the comments. And here we can see these augmented reality arrows. When we have a route set, then the camera image is there from the rear or front view, in this case front view camera. Then we have these arrows here guiding us alongside, and this is a very helpful feature indeed. Then it switches back to the normal GPS. Look at the lower right part there. This says adaptive driving mode. So when there's no car in front of me, by the way, the flashing light is from the IR light. Here, I'm just rolling when there's no car in front of me when I lift my foot off the throttle. However, now I'm getting closer towards the vehicle, and when I now lift my foot off the throttle, the car does do recuperation. That's the adaptive recuperation driving mode. That's really cool. I recommend the setting. However, we can also do the B mode. That's the B mode then, and in the B mode, when I lift my foot off the throttle, then it does immediate recuperation. That is then a one-pedal driving. So you can do one-pedal driving if you like, but I would recommend the adaptive recuperation. It's the best of both worlds. And we have the head-up display is a nice option, and here you can see when you have the GPS set, then it also shows these complex map images when you're about to cross an intersection. Here, this middle console floating, we have a nice wooden element. This combination is only possible done with the crystalline stuff here. And once again, it looks cool, but it does have some glaring effects, so I would rather keep the base version. This is the shifting lever, backwards then for the drive mode, or B, the stronger recuperation mode. But they also have adaptive recuperation then, which is a good choice, more when driving. You can put smartphone right here, for example, that's possible. But actually, for charging, you put it underneath. And here underneath you have the inductive charging pad, and when you lift it up you can see these are small holes that suck away the air so that the smartphone does not overheat. And in front of the cup holders you can see there's like this open area in the front. That's nice. Both Brian and me really like that. It creates a nice open atmosphere in the vehicle. Nice soft armrest, split opening, and actually decent space underneath. Well, it does have space and speed indeed. And I really do appreciate that we still have a manual button for the glove box. This is our allowance here to park at the airport. But here, this is really cool because, I mean, it looks standard, but some new EVs, they just have it in the, in the display. I really want to open it in an easy way. What about you? In the rear area, it's also fairly comfortable and also a lot of legroom left. They're really using that EV platform. Headroom, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of headroom. And here you can also look through that panoramic roof, which has this electrochromatic function if you go for that one. It's, of course, always a spectacular effect to close it off or open it, so to speak, in this way. Yeah, you can move around freely here. Also in the middle part, you can easily house 5 tall adults here. Here's a little bit stiffer on that one, but, some like it a little bit stiffer. Yeah, and then let's move down this one here. And here we have cup holders which fold out like this in the front, and everything once again also in the rear from this Sensatec material, really great quality. In the middle part we have a console here, and there we still have manual climate unit. Maybe I want to be a rear passenger here today. 500 liters up to 1,750 liters, great folding mechanism. The normal length is 1 meter or 40 inches, and the same goes for the width, very well usable. And when I take out the backpack here in the very front, you have storage for your charging cable. And here, look at that. Clicking sound here when you close it. These are beautiful details indeed. And the absolute length here for the trunk to the seats as we would be driving, this is enormous. So, yeah, I know. And then 1 meter 90 and 74 inches. And here I can easily stand underneath it. So it's, yeah, pretty large opening. It's cool. And you can see here the hazard lights when you have that hatch opened. There's like the replacement hazard lights. Really interesting. But let's take a look at the real one. The problem is, child safety test. Great. This was really good. So yeah, our children are safe there in this case, and cats of course. And here, when we close the hatch, let's take a look. Here, these then are the normal hazard lights or the normal turning indicators. And that's how the turning indicators look like in the front.
So far, so good. Thomas and I are broadly speaking in agreement, but here is where we diverge. I really like this steering wheel. I think for a new bold design, you need a new bold wheel. And I appreciate the fact that BMW haven't just gone with the same old, same old. It looks great, it's modern, but you know what? It's actually really fun and effective to use too. So that's a big hit for me, as is, again, controversially for Thomas, this driver display screen. It's clean, it's uncluttered, it's stylish, it's modern, and there's not too much of it. Thank you so much for not giving me 9 screens I don't need and only giving me exactly what I do. On which subject, let's get on to something that nobody needs but is super awesome anyway, and that's this roof. Look at that. Nobody needs that, but who cares? It's so much fun. It'll keep your children entertained for days, and it really suits this car. So I got a feature on a negative to end with. Crystal knobs. Come on, guys. That's been done. It's been tried. It kind of looks a little bit tacky, but more important than that, as Thomas did mention in his previous review, they do genuinely blind you when the sun hits you. And that, for me, is a bit of a miss.
Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge with the BMW iX M60, and what you see here in the front, that there is the new Tesla factory Berlin Giga, Berlin Brandenburg, Grünheide. So, and we are here with the BMW Performance SUV. Isn't that a great occasion? And here we can also test the famous new launch control we put here in the sports mode. Changes the sound setting, hitting the brakes with the left foot, and now the acceleration pedal with the right foot. Here on that empty parking lot, launching towards Tesla now. Who wins it, BMW or Tesla? Let's see. Woo! So that was 0 to 70. Interesting. I mean, this parking lot is not too long. However, then don't have to do it on public roads. And yeah, and of course, I just want to be close to Tesla for that one. It's interesting, right? So 0 to 70, and of course then also hard on the brakes. One more time, guys. Listen to the sound. Woo! And did you see it on camera? This car is literally shaking. It has like a hardware shake. Oh, there's like a lot of dust rolling there. It's really shaking in the launch control. That's the new thing. You know, like here. Here, like you feel it, Brian? We're like really shaking. The camera, you can see the camera shaking. It's going further. Then it's stopping. Hey, what about that, Hans? So Hans Zimmer designed that. You know, why did you stop it? Yeah, probably the owner wants to keep up the shaking for some period of time. This is nuts. And actually, what we can also show you on this parking lot is actually here. Look at that. This is like the rear axle steering, and also in that sports mode we have more loose electronic stability control. You heard that tire screaming. So I can really put that car around. Wow, and I have the EC all the way on. It's getting somewhat loose. Wow, this is really amazing. Whew. So yeah, that is a difference to the normal xDrive 50. Yeah, it does give you some extra boost. It's 1,100 Newton meters of torque, and wow, yeah, the air suspension is indeed tuned to a stiffer level. And yeah, that's all the Tesla workers going home now. They might wonder, like, what is this guy doing there with the new BMW Performance SUV? And might we build something better? Or is this one actually better? Yeah. Whoa, yeah, so that's the difference here in the M60 version. I mean, from the outside, you might not expect that it is so different, but whoa. Yeah, I mean, the sound experience has also been enhanced. It has this more sonorous, low-frequency sound. And here, actually, I mean, I did think about the location here a little bit, because now we're getting onto the German Autobahn, the German motorway. And this will be a part, actually, where we can also drive unlimited speed. And you know, this one does have a speed unlock. I'm not sure how fast we can actually go. It also depends on the traffic, always, a little bit. But yeah, let's just see how it goes. Whew, yeah, that was already something. Good that we found this empty parking lot there. And yeah, once again, greetings to all the Tesla workers, putting up a show for them. So we're still in the sport mode. You see here this screen also stays. That's a thing when you're using the GPS, it does never switch back. That's a little bit weird, isn't it? And now we are starting at about 70 kilometers an hour. And at the moment we can't launch it yet. To first see that we safely get on the motorway. Brian, can you check the action cam like here with the display? Are we seeing the speed on the small? Are viewers seeing the speed actually, like in the lower left part? Are we seeing the speed? Or is it better this way, right? Like when we have the central speed better here like this, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's better.
My aged eyes are not
focusing
on such a thing.
Anyways, let's now accelerate from 110 kilometers an hour. Let's do it through. ...200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and we go further, and now we keep distance to the car in front of you. Safety first here, wow. But I mean, even if we are here at speed, there's still acceleration going. That's amazing. Wow. And also that stiffer air suspension. I mean, it's an SUV. It's a huge car, but it stays upright very much. The steering is to me a little bit maybe too artificial when I'm here on the lane change. I don't have the best feeling for it. Yet at the same time, what is really cool that it stays rather upright. So that stiffened up of the air suspension is doing a good job, and it has really great handling. For a car of that size and that weight in this segment here, it drives really awesome. That is amazing. And you may also notice that, maybe covered here a little bit by that sporty sound design, when we were driving at high speeds. Wind noise wise, it was perfectly silent. This is one of the best insulated vehicles I have driven. It's really very silent here on the motorway at high speeds. That's really very, very well done. Good traveling comfort also in these SensaTech seats, soft and upright seating position. So you can drive it in a performance way, but at the same time you can also use it as a cruise vehicle or performance vehicle once again. Launching it through. Wow. Now we're at 220, closing top speed. And wow. This is now 250 kilometers an hour, 155 miles an hour, top speed. Now it gets getting loud, but wow. That is really getting up to speed, and we perfectly use this part of unlimited speed. Now hard on the brakes, but wow, we have so much energy running with that, but the brakes, we're doing a great job. So you feel that, you know, from an engineering standpoint here, this is an awesome piece of metal, or aluminum and carbon fiber in this case then. Yeah, this is really something, you know, we have tested a lot of different vehicles now from also new electric vehicle manufacturers, and they do better software, yes. But here with this vehicle explicitly, you're the native speaker, was it? Okay, thank you. You feel that all the experience from the engineering does pay off. So yes, the user interface could be a little bit more refined, and I can use an, you know, like a Alcantara steering wheel or something, but wow, this is awesome piece of hardware. And looking from the exterior and the interior, we thought like, there's not a big difference to the normal xDrive 50, but now driving it, yes, it's not a completely different vehicle, but you definitely feel more difference here now, xDrive 50 to the M60, than you would expect by the minor exterior and interior differences. And that to me is a very interesting finding. At all times, you can use My Modes driving selection. Here, go back to personal. This is then the normal driving mode. You can also have individual settings, and then everything is rather calm. Cruise control is set here on the left side of the steering wheel. You can also pick different modes, whatever you want to, for example, the assisted driving mode. Then we have also active lane keeping assist, for example. Let's see how intrusive that is. Smooth reaction here, keeping us central in the lane. All the assistance systems are working really flawlessly. We also have blind spot monitors right and left. There will be like this flashing triangle. So assistance systems wise, everything also top notch indeed. Yeah, one of the initial question was, is it the best performance EV SUV, performance EV SUV, or performance electric performance SUV. And at this point, I mean, we haven't driven the EQS SUV yet, but I have to say, at this point, I really have to say, kinda is, you know. You know what my point was already with the last review. In general, iX with iX3. As for price performance, I would still prefer the iX3 because it has easier user interface, has less price, and it's just, you know, still great to handle. This one, of course, with a dedicated EV platform, more efficient and so on. But still, I would rather pick an iX3 for better price performance. But if money does not play a role and you want great performance and you're okay with the infotainment and the digital units here, yeah, then this is here one of the best high price luxury choices. Yeah, I can really say no doubt. What about you, Brian? 2 thumbs up from Brian. Brian seems to be impressed, and he just returned from the Lucid Air review. A very special review with the new Audi Q8 e-tron with a comparison of the SQ8 Sportback e-tron. Here with Thomas on Autogefühl for you in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go. Where does it come from? How does it sit in between the competition? Tesla Model X, Mercedes EQE SUV, or the BMW iX. Let's take a look here at the front. And that's one of the things they have majorly changed. Exterior changes, technology changes later on. Here we can see the mask here around and then the single frame grille inside. Before it was the Audi e-tron, their first electric big SUV. And now they say, hey, we have made so many e-tron models, we have to position it in the model portfolio. That's why it's now called Audi Q8 e-tron. To see, this is approximately the size also of the petrol version. From the inside color here, this is a special edition where you have the inside color with the matching exterior color here in Chronos Gray, but you can also get it in different colors, for example, blacked out in the black package as well. And also the frame is in different versions available. In the SQ8 it would be bright, for example. And the new design feature is also here, 2-dimensional Audi rings. They take away the 3-dimensional chrome look. They say mainly for design reasons, to make it more modern, up to date. What do you think about it? Tell me in the comments. And then they have 2 versions. The background is always black, but then here this is like a gray ring, but you can also get it in the brighter styling. It looks very clean. However, I was also a fan of the real things you could touch, you know. So far in this segment here, it wasn't the most efficient vehicle overall. They have now improved that, for example, by increasing the aerodynamic efficiency. So now CD values of 0.24 or 0.26, depending on the Sportback or the SUV version. The Sportback is always better. Then here in the lower part, they also optimize the air breathers, or these air curtains. So the air goes in here, goes through the wheel arch. This has been optimized. And also how the wind is flowing in the underbody of the vehicle. Here at the inside of the grille, this one opens on demand, actually just when cooling is needed. Another efficiency measure. Styling-wise, by the way, here this lower part is more accentuated in the S-line, which we have right here, or than in the SQ8. Otherwise, in the base advanced line, it's a little bit smaller. And only from below you can see the wheel spoilers, and they are actually one of the best efficiency gains. Very interesting, right? Because they channel the air from here to the side away from the wheels, and that is bringing a lot of gains in efficiency. And have you actually seen this new detail? This light strip above the Audi rings? Right there. There we go. This looks really amazing, right? It's an option. And when you take a closer look right here, this is not the light strip. It is where it is mirrored in the paint. And it originates below. And that's the reason why it's legal, also in Europe. 4.92 meters or 194 inches is the length of the Q8 e-tron, and wheels come from 19 to 22 inch wheels. These ones here are 21 inch, also in an aerodynamic design, then here blacked out. Wheel arches are always painted either in vehicle color or in a contrasting dark gray tone. So they have also optimized the styling here, and also the model name is always indicated now here at the B pillar. Other than that, you have the base SUV shape or then the Sportback shape, and both versions, SUV or Sportback, are available then in different powertrain versions with different power output. What have they done with the batteries? Massive upgrade. The so far biggest battery has been increased and is now the small entry battery. And the bigger battery now is a completely new, even larger battery. So now you either get 89 kilowatt hours net for the 50 model, or for the 55 model and the SQ8 you get 106 kilowatt hours net. So that's an increase by 25 or 20 kilowatt hours depending on the battery. So massive increase. So you get plus 100 kilometers or plus 60 miles of range with this upgrade now. And what does that mean for the real world driving range? We'll test this vehicle thoroughly throughout the next days, and then at the end of the driving part we'll tell you about the final test consumption and then tell you about more about the real world range, but it's way better than before. That's clear for sure already right now. Rear design here, light strip goes all the way through, modern tail lamp design, and then the lower part here in a contrasting style. This diffuser in the lower part is here more accentuated, and this is always the case in the S-Line or in the SQ8. Driving dynamics wise, also massive changes. Reworked suspension, air suspension is standard, but the front axle is, a little bit stiffer from the setup especially. And then you can get, on top of the normal air suspension, a sportier air suspension setup that is standard for the SQ8 or then also for the S-Line. For the S-Line you can then again de-pick it, but not for the SQ8. Yes, this is the channel here where you know more details even before you go to the dealer. And recharging, the small battery, 150 kilowatt peak, 28 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. And the bigger battery, 170 kilowatt peak and 31 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. And that is indeed very good as for the improvement, because the batteries have become larger. So the time didn't really change that much, but since the batteries are so much larger now, this is also a significant improvement. Here when you press this button, the charging flap opens, and there you have AC and then DC charging below. And here for the passenger side, you can also get an optional AC charger. A really cool solution. Also the flap is opening, closing, very premium alike. And a feature you would usually see, for example, where do we know it from? Yes, for example from Rolls-Royce. Here inside the wheel, the caps here, they can be turned actually, and yeah, you can maybe show it off to your friends and do like a Ferris wheel or something here. That looks also quite cool, right? But the function, of course, is that it stays upright even while driving. Let's take a look at that. And turning indicators, cascading style here, that looks always really fancy, doesn't it? And you also get the cascading turning indicator style for the front, at least when you ordered the most expensive headlamps. And acceleration figures, 6 seconds for the so-called 50 model, the Q8 e-tron 50. Then this one here, the 55, is 5.6 seconds, a little bit quicker. Both have 2 electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear. And then the SQ8, that one at 4.5 seconds with 3 electric motors, one in the front, 2 in the rear, and then also enables even better torque vectoring. These here, the all-wheel drive models, do torque vectoring by brake intervention. The SQ8 can do torque vectoring by one motor at the wheel, even just spinning quicker. That's of course a better form of torque vectoring. And now, look at that scenery here. The first scenery was amazing already. And that one, that's just beautiful. And also with beautiful color. This one is now ultra blue, a typical Thomas blue, we call it here on our channel, because this is my favorite color. These light blue colors. This one in here is now the SQ8 e-tron and also the Sportback version. Once again, you can get an SQ8, the sporty version, for both the normal SUV version and the Sportback. So it doesn't really matter. You can freely pick SUV or Sportback and SQ8 or normal Q8. Here, then the SQ8, you can see, standardly comes with the bright mask around here in this light gray. That looks really beautiful, and I would actually pick it in this very combination. I think also the ultra blue together with the bright accentuation right here just looks amazing. Also the bright inside grille in here. However, you could also go for an SQ8 and make the mask and even the grille in black if you prefer that more sinister look. And I also think it's a right choice here to go for the Audi rings, which are in white here. Always black background, but white then on top. It just looks more present. And I've seen some other vehicles, for example, in my back mirror yesterday, or when they were facing towards me. And when the Audi rings themselves are dark, it almost appears as they would be like diminishing. So you can't really see them. And that way you can still see, hey, you know, I'm driving an Audi. Styling wise, S-Line and SQ8 are similar right here with these wider openings for the air curtains. Otherwise they are just like this in the size. But then exclusively to the SQ8 you get wider tires, and then they also have to make the wheel arches wider, like here, this bit. But then again they have some aerodynamic function right here so the air can flow through. Now in the side profile, also 21-inch wheels, but different styling. And here we also have the Sportback version to show you. Falling roof line, really sensual, also with stronger hip area. Would you actually go for the standard SUV version, or would you rather pick the Sportback? Which one do you prefer styling wise? Tell me in the comments. Then air suspension is here always set on the sportier node, but you also get it, as I said earlier, with the S-Line trim. And then you can depick it, but you cannot depict the sporty setup for the air suspension here in the SQ8. However, it is still an SQ8 and not an RSQ8, so they still have some compromise between sportiness and comfort. There is no RSQ8 for the electric version. You have to go then, once again, for the petrol engine still. But here I think this combination works very well. Usually I'm more a fan of the normal SUV versions, but in this case here, yeah, I think the Sportback just has this sportier touch. But is it any bad? Is it a bad compromise? As for the interior, rear and trunk and so on, we'll find out later in the interior part. And in the rear, once again, a stronger presence for the Sportback version, especially in that 3/4 rear perspective right there. Cool look, isn't it? And then the SQ8 version has the silver contrast right here. I think that works very well with stamped in e-tron badging here. The lower part, this diffuser, is the same in the S-Line and also in the SQ8. So also from the rear, is it more the SUV style or Sportback for you? Tell me in the comments. The white Audi rings, I think once again, work just better. They have more presence here also at the rear. And although they have this two-dimensional look, they are three-dimensional in a way and to be touched at the rear. What about this badging? They have indeed also changed the badging. On the right side, there's now never anything. 50, 55 model, you can't see anything right there. But on the left side, a normal Q8 e-tron, standard one, would have this badge, just Q8. If you pick the S-Line for the Q8, it would be like this, the red Audi Sport logo with the Q8. And then if you have the SQ8, it looks exactly like this. So this here basically indicates an S model or also an S-Line. And it's not placed, you know, this old S-Line badge at the side, that one is also gone. Key fob here with the e-tron badge. It's a really nice key fob. It's not new, but still does the job very well. Then door closing sound. Really solid. Love that perfect door closing sound. And the interior materials here. Soft touch on the top part. A nice microfiber insert here in the S-Line. This is also softer for L, but could be a little bit softer, I think. And the lower part, this was better recently in the Tesla Model X, where this was also covered. Here it's just, like a hard pack material. And then here, look at that. These are the digital mirrors. They are an option, and they cannot be bought in the US. And that's actually a good thing, because I think they're a bad idea. Yeah, everyone. They're placed too low in the vehicle. They should be higher and more central towards the driver. And in general, normal mirrors give you a 3D image of your surrounding, basically, to me, in your head. Even though if European mirrors are also better than the US ones that are kind of like zoomed in the driver's mirrors, it's also a little bit weird. But these camera mirrors are always, let's say, less realistic, even in nighttime. I think it's overall a bad idea indeed. What's your take on that? Seating position, the seat ergonomics actually is pretty good. Here, 1.89 m or 6'2", still leaves a lot of headroom. A panoramic roof is also available. Steering here, in this case with perforations at the side. S-Line, also red contrast stitches on the inside. And this volume jog here, for example, real buttons at the steering wheel, I love that. There's no other material than animal skin available, and the same also counts for the seats in the US, and that's of course really hit and miss. In Europe we also get microfiber on the inside and leather on the outside for S-Line and the SQ8 and the base fabric seat. But in general, Audi needs to step up the game. Tesla Model X is completely animal-free, BMW iX offers a lot of different choices, and also Mercedes is better in this respect as for offering also some things worldwide, for example for the EQE SUV. So this is where Audi is lagging behind. They have missed the chance to change something here in the interior. The interior setup here is really clean indeed. You have this integrated screen, 10.1 inch, the other one 8.6 inch below, and they can also play together in a way. e-tron batching right there, this very interesting structure on top of that. And then you have digital instruments as well, Audi virtual cockpit, and also how everything is processed. The build quality is really very nice. It has been more or less the same setup from the beginning, and we also know it like from Audi A6 and the Audi A7, A8 and so on. Digital instruments, clear to read, I really love them, and the map can be here full screen. However, the thing is, it's only the map from the car internal GPS, and you cannot get Apple Maps or Google Maps in there or something. And the head-up display is always a great little helper. Special to the Q8 e-tron interior is here the shifting reverse and drive. It works, but you have to question yourself, why? Why not make it classic? And this flying middle console here, meanwhile here this part in between is a little bit narrow for big modern smartphones, at least when you use this cable connection here. Underneath you have cup holders that can also be pushed inward, and you have more space, 12-volt power supply. To me, too much clutter actually. And on the left part here, this is then the inductive charging pad, like on this side. Well, here this armrest is very well attached. You cannot move it left or right. And then another place for your smartphone could be down there then. I really like the infotainment system because it has this simple main menu. The other one I don't fancy that much. And the car internal GPS has a nice satellite view. Here today also on a very beautiful volcanic origin island. Here when we zoom out, it's the island of Lanzarote in the Canaries. It's a really, really beautiful one here. That's Lanzarote, and these are the other Canary Islands, and they are actually, you can see here, on the coast of Morocco, almost towards the equator. So it's really nice and pleasant here always for weather and good for filming. And the lower screen is my favorite capacitive AC unit. I always prefer real buttons, but for a screen solution it's relatively easy to handle, like with clicking or sliding, and it's large so you can't miss the things. And for example, when you want to adjust here like left and right, you do like the swiping closing gesture, and then you have everything synchronized. Seat heating is, for example, here in the lower part. So this to me, for a screen solution, a good one. This is the drive selector that you can change the driving modes. That is not placed that well. It should be different, or maybe at the steering wheel or something. And once again, what I mean with the digital mirrors, usually you look here for the side mirrors, the normal ones. But here now you look down and it's always distracting. You lose attention from the road. So if you use screens for this solution, they rather should be put up right here. You know what I mean? Very nice comfort indeed. Enough headroom with 189 or 6'2", and also enough leg room. Good package and also decent comfort while seating. And you fold down this, and then you have, for example, cup holders. They are also adaptive, like this. And then in the lower part here, it's a very nice climate unit. And listen to that. With nice clicking sounds, although this is also like this capacitive area. And the trunk or boot, wait a minute, when we later talk about the frunk, would we say frunk or fruit? Sorry, I had to go for this one. But here for the trunk or the boot, here the normal length is like 1.7 meters or 42 inches. And the width here is, well, between the wheel arches here even, that's even quite good. Once again, 1.7 meters or 42 inches, so good measurements. And also here in height, this is like 71 centimeters or 28 inches. Capacity is 530 liters for the Sportback, 570 liters, a little bit more here for the SUV. Cool thing is that here, when you lift this one up, You have even more space, once again, for charging cables or replacement tire. And you can also easily fold the seats from here for the maximum length, which is then here at over 1 meters 80 or 72 inches. German electric vehicles tend not to have a trunk, but this one does offer one. For example, in here, space for the charging cables. Why not? That's actually decent. And I wonder why other competitors like the BMW iX or the Mercedes EQE SUV don't have one. I don't know. Then does this one here, since we are in front of the hood here, affect the petrol engines in any way? This one here, the Audi Q8 e-tron, is the EV version. Once again, an SUV or Sportback, then different powertrain outputs and so on. But it does not affect the petrol range. The normal Q8, SQ8, RSQ8, this will remain the same. They do have something in common, technology parts and so on, but it will run parallel the EV lineup and the combustion engine lineup. Sportback interior now in the rear. What is the difference? Headroom-wise, I had, like in the normal SUV version, like this space above my head still. And here, I do fit in here, but then I can just put a hand over my head. So yes, you lose headroom here in the Sportback version in the rear. However, tall adults can still sit here without problem. So it's not a big compromise, only if you have Michael Jordan guests in here in the rear. By the way, about the front, Sportback SUV, no difference in the interior, and also SQ8 with the normal Q8, also basically no difference in the interior. What about the trunk of the Sportback version? Opens really high as well. I can stand underneath it, no problem. And you have the same great access to the trunk. Here, this one is fixed. You can remove it here, however, completely if you like. And you see, it's very usable too. The thing is, you're not limited in height right here, just limited a little bit in height right here. So only if you have long things, but at the same time are super high in the back area, then it would be a problem. Otherwise, I think you can live with this compromise, can't you? Welcome everyone. Let's accelerate. Plop. That was 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour with the 55 model. So the official figure is 5.6 seconds. We got to check the time code below. Reasonably quick. 2 electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear. And wow, we have a beautiful scenery on the island of Lanzarote. Wow, this is really impressive. And let's start with the strength of this model. And one of them is definitely noise insulation. It's really silent as for the wind noises around. And one of the weaknesses is, especially at lower speeds, you tend to get some low frequency sounds, especially when you're running over some bumps and so on. And they haven't changed that with the facelift here of the model. So that is on the con side. And the thing is that you especially hear them because it's otherwise so silent. You know, you won't hear them when you listen to music or something, or when you drive faster. But when you drive at slower speeds, then they come quite apparent. One of my favorite strengths of this vehicle is the steering. So here, left and right, it's super precise. And they have also updated it in this very facelift or update, because they have made the front axle, let's say, in a more reacting, stiffer way, and also changed the steering ratio. So you have to steer less, and Audi steerings in general are already quite progressive. But here then they are even more progressive. So small commands are directly transported to the road. At the same time, also when you're driving straight, it is a very relaxing thing, definitely. So you can both drive comfortably in parking in and out, and also in a very sporty way. I like when there's no dead zone area here, and the car is really reacting very precisely. They have also updated the air suspension, and this vehicle we're driving at the moment basically has the suspension setup from the air suspension of the SQ8. That means you can either get this base air suspension or pick the sporty version of the air suspension. And in that case, especially the front axle gets a stiffer setup once again. And we feel that when turning in, that feels even sportier than before. However, I have to say, when you now think about, would I need to change my Audi e-tron to the Q8 e-tron because of the suspension and driving dynamics? No, you'll be just fine. The main reason to switch to the new model is indeed the increased battery size. So as for the driving dynamics, it was great before, now it is also awesome. So great driving dynamics always with this vehicle, no doubt. So here now, also in some bands, you have a lot of fun. Actually, it's really, really a lot of fun to drive. Suspension is also indeed doing a great job. If you should go for the sporty setup of the suspension, I'm not exactly sure. So if you want sportier driving fun, yes, you can already have that with a normal suspension setup here. This one, when you want it even stiffer, but I wouldn't say it's really necessary. I'm always a fan of combining comfort and sportiness. It's still doing that. But of course, with the normal suspension setup, you would have a little bit more comfort still. Here we are also with 21-inch wheels, and they also serve the purpose of being visually interesting, yes. But then again, when you have some bumps in the road, you feel them more in your lower back and something. Well, we have great scenery here for our driving part today, no doubt about that. So also when you think about efficiency and comfort, 19-inch, the smallest wheels would be way to go. With 19-inch wheels, it has the best A rating for the rolling resistance and also gives you the best comfort. So it's always a trade-off, definitely. You have to think about that. In general, about the competitors, it's a lot of fun here going over these humps and so on. Great volcanic landscape. When we think about the Tesla Model X, here we feel that the suspension is a little bit better in the Audi Q8 e-tron than in the Tesla Model X. And also in the X we had 22-inch wheels, and these also reduce the comfort while driving. So Tesla Model X with 20-inch wheels would also be better. Also the steering input here is so precise and so much fun to steer it around. This one here is really, really good in the Audi. And also if you think about the BMW iX or the Mercedes EQE SUV or EQS SUV, the Audi offers the best natural steering input. So I feel that it's most fun to steer the Audi. So this combination of steering and suspension is just awesome here. Probably one of the best things about this vehicle. Let's talk about the driving modes. Here, when I'm in dynamic mode, then the suspension is a little bit stiffer. In comfort mode, then it reacts a little bit softer actually to what's happening. So that's the way you can always fine-tune it a little bit more. I tend to keep it in the comfort mode, and you can also pick individual modes. For example, you can go to, this is when CarPlay is running, it's not switching there visually. So for example, you can go to the individual mode and there have like suspension on comfort, but then the steering on dynamic, that you have more resistance in the steering, but that you have the softer suspension. That would be, for example, my recommendation when you drive this car for a longer period of time or something. Other than that, the shifting mode, as we usually call them at Audi, D or S, usually defines how much are the RPMs turned up before the next shifting. Here, of course, it doesn't really have an effect on that, but the thing is that the throttle input is just changing. Here, like for example in D, slight throttle input. In S, there is like really instant throttle input, and that is indeed just more spontaneous to drive that one. When you have someone in the front of you, then it's also about recuperation, and you can either do it with the brake pedal, then it's recuperating, or use the shifting pedal here and go for a stronger recuperation mode. In general, their philosophy is not really about one pedal driving, it's more about letting it roll. And when you lift your foot off the throttle and have this stronger recuperation, then more is happening. And here you can also delete it again, so to speak. But the normal driving mode is hardly any recuperation. It's more this rolling or coasting effect. And when you, for example, have this cruise control set, then it's automatically doing that and so on. But they rather want you to have more like a combustion engine car feeling, that you use the brake pedal yourself. And it's always a matter of philosophy. I tend not to say that one of these is good or bad. It's just a question of how you prefer it actually. And if you like it, you can also then activate it here and have a stronger recuperation right there. So yeah, actually, why not? So in driving, I think it's doing a phenomenal job indeed. It's, you really feel connected to the vehicle, low center of gravity. That's the thing, that you don't feel the weight of this car. These EV SUVs are super heavy indeed, especially when you make the batteries even a little bit larger. At the same time, due to the low center of gravity, you don't feel the negative effect of that much actually. So now once again here on that road, let me show you another acceleration when I'm now doing like 45 to 90. Let's go. Let's go now. Plop. There we are. So that is also going really quickly. Is so effortless indeed. And the whole steering feeling, it's always a lot of fun, but you can always just go back to normal driving mode, pick the comfort setting or just the auto setting here, then the car is adjusting accordingly. The air suspension also, when you are in the dynamic mode, the air suspension lowers a little bit. So it's also better for fast driving. You get more stability and at the same time more dynamic character, or it goes up again when you are in the auto mode or in the comfort mode and so on. Then about the efficiency, that's still the thing. So our results so far already is saying that even though some things have improved, it will not be the most efficient car overall. What will it be at the end of the day? We will find out when we drive even further. But now let's compare, how does the SQ8 drive in comparison to this one here. Now the SQ8. Woo! And 100. Whoa. Whew. Okay. That's a notable difference. Whew, yeah. So 2 electric motors now in the back, and although on paper it's just this, like 1.5 seconds difference that you save approximately, even less. The difference was 5.6 versus 4.5 then here now. So yeah, barely a second difference, but it feels way quicker indeed. So get an instant push definitely from the get-go. So this additional electric motor really helps a lot. Interesting is that suspension-wise, from the setup, when you get the normal Q8 e-tron with the sportier air suspension in the S-line, and then also stick with it, it has the same suspension setup here than standard with the SQ8. So that's also then this stiffer setup here, and we have more precise steering, because especially the front axle has been stiffened up. But there's still a driving difference, and that is resulting from A, wider tires here in the SQ8, and B, here in the SQ8 we also have the dual motor setup here in the rear, so a triple motor setup in general, and that enables a better torque vectoring. So here we have an active torque vectoring, and this active torque vectoring can actually turn one wheel. For example, here when I'm going now in a left corner and I'm accelerating, then the right wheel on the outside here, the back wheel on the outside, can get more power and kind of push the car into the corner. But the other models, when you have just 2 electric motors, so one in the front, one in the rear, this is done by brake intervention, and has been the same recently shown with the Tesla Model X Plaid model, that also then gets the additional motor in the rear, and then you also have active torque vectoring. So that's the main difference. So the SQ8 will still feel sportier, and once again, the best thing about these vehicles is the steering is just so direct. It's awesome, so you don't have any dead zone area. It feels crisp. You can keep your hands at the steering wheel at all time. It's hardly a situation where you have to grab over because you have to steer more. You always are in control. One more time, from 70 to 100. Plop. That was already exceeding that. Wow. So it's really very quick. Of course, once again, no comparison to the Tesla Model X Plaid. That is just beyond limits, but very quick acceleration here too, and it is definitely more than enough. Then driving modes. also go back to the auto or the comfort mode, then the air suspension is going up a little bit again with more dampening comfort. It's softer. This tarmac here is very rough. That's why you maybe also hear that's a little bit louder then, but that's not from the vehicle, that's really from the tarmac then here in this case. You can also use it for normal cruising and so on. All the assistance systems work very, very well. This is here the adaptive cruise control, and the good thing is you can activate or deactivate the active lane keeping assist just with a click of a button, and that's rarely what we see in the very, very new modern user interfaces. So I feel it's actually a good thing that this one is not the all new platform as for the user interface. You're just like this, then adaptive cruise assist, no lane guidance, or click again and then I have lane guidance. And for example, when I here steer a little bit left, car keeps in, and very, very smooth process actually. So really fun of these assistance systems. But just once again with the digital mirrors, I'm just not a fan of it at all. Too small, placed too low down. Again, US viewers won't care about that at all because you get the normal mirrors anyway. And for everyone else, I can just tell you, don't buy this option, stick with the normal mirrors. They don't bring you much more range or efficiency gains. That's just a marketing myth. It's not a big difference. When you have good light conditions, it's of course better. As darker as it gets, the more problematic it is, I think. And you don't have this like realistic image of your surrounding with that. So you're not just aware. And for example, when you're looking straight now, and let's imagine there would a car appear like close to me, and even if I would look straight and there is a normal big side mirror, I'm still aware. It's like I'm looking straight, but I'm still somehow, there's something moving in that big mirror. Okay, there's a car. But here with the screens, you have no awareness at all of what's happening unless you directly look into it. So when I'm looking straight and something is happening here, I realize nothing what is happening here, like not at all. Once again, I have to intentionally look and concentrate on the screen. That can't be a good thing. So new tech, yes please, if it helps us, but no thanks if it doesn't help us, if it just makes things more complicated. And that's one of the case right here. But the best thing is that this vehicle here is all about the drive indeed, and from the driving fun, from the driving behavior, steering input, suspension feel, the combination of comfort and sportiness, the Audi Q8 e-tron, and especially even more the SQ8 e-tron, they are really top of the segment as for this driving fun and driving behavior. That is really so well done indeed. But it also has some other shortcomings, as we told you earlier in the interior review, for example, that the other manufacturers, like Tesla, goes all animal free on the interior. That's way more looking forward, for example. The other manufacturers have better offerings there. Well, and range efficiency gain and so on. This will be super exciting. We did one test with the normal Q8 e-tron yesterday, the 55 model, and we'll also do range test and here today with the SQ8 for a longer period of time, and then compare these both consumption figures, and then we can tailor the real world range, and if they can keep up to the competition. This is to come then later on. Putting it one more time here in dynamic mode because I'm getting off the motorway here. Noise insulation like wind noise and so on is awesome, really awesome. That's great. And wow, here now off the motorway in that bend, it handles so well, so much fun indeed. And I mean, look at that, it's so effortless. It's a heavy vehicle indeed, but the drive, suspension wise and so on, makes it still so much fun. Of course, at one point you can't deny physics, so even though the weight is put in the lower part of the vehicle, when you have really tight corners, at some point it does push you out of the corners. That's just physics. So electric vehicles are a lot of fun to drive, yes, and they especially feel effortless when accelerating. But when you have lightweight sports cars, then, or in general like a combustion engine SUV, which is like maybe like 400-500 kilograms lighter, They do feel better in tight corners indeed, because the weight, again, you just can't deny it. So it is a lot of fun, definitely, but you know, more especially like when you have some longer bends and so on, the tighter it gets, the more this weight still plays somewhat a role. Here these roundabouts, they are a lot of fun. And then the other combination again here out. So would I actually choose the SQ8 over the normal Q8 e-tron? Of course, there's always a hefty extra price. I do feel that the SQ8 is a little bit more fun, yes. So this torque vectoring helps, and also the wider tires, they do make a difference. So it is actually more difference than I have expected. And in general, the thing is with the electric vehicles, when you pick between the different horsepower tunes, the difference is not as large as it used to be with combustion engine vehicles. You know, like when you compare like a normal Q8 to an SQ8 or so on. We have felt the same with the BMW iX and to the M60 version. Yes, it is more driving fun. It is more extreme in a way. It goes more into the sporty direction, but the differences are not as large as they used to be. So when you're thinking about a clever budget decision, then it is of course not the SQ8, and you will be totally fine with the normal Q8 e-tron, definitely. If you want that extra spice of driving fun and the budget is not really, you know, that important, then the SQ8 will be totally fine. And what I always love about the S models of Audi, compared to the RS models, here the S models have a suspension setup which is still suitable for everyday driving life. And in the RS models, usually there is some kind of a compromise in a way of you have to go in that very sporty direction. You also want that then from an RS model, but you do lose comfort. Here with the S models, it's still the case that they say, hey, I don't need to lose comfort, you know. And at the same time, when you go for the normal Q8 e-tron, you can always depict that sportier suspension setup, for example, when you went for the S-Line, and have it a little bit more comfortable and also tune it with the tires. Here now, once again, like with the Q8 e-tron yesterday, we had 21-inch wheels. We could go bigger, but we could also go smaller. And my tip is always maybe go a size smaller to keep up the comfort. One more topic then here in driving is Sportback versus SUV. Yes, this happens to be the Sportback version here now, but yeah, it's a design thing, you know. It maybe has like a minimum effect then on the weight distribution, because here then it's a little bit lower, but it doesn't make a huge difference. The bigger difference will in a way be that when you go for the Sportback version, the drag coefficient is better actually, so you will have a little bit more efficiency then. Yeah, but also not in a way that it's a super game changer or something. So if you go for SUV or Sportback in driving, it doesn't really make a big difference. So rather pick that one that you like better design or styling wise, and just think about if you can live with some of the, you know, like height gains in the trunk we've shown to you here with that Sportback version. But yeah, once again, that doesn't really matter so much. Great fun ride here once again. Now the question is, what about the final consumption for both vehicles and the real world range? And about the lighting, here's some nighttime driving shots. I know you love to see that. Look at that, they are oncoming vehicles, and it's said that they are not blinded. So far, no one complained, because sometimes people complain and maybe flash their lights or something. But you can see, although they were oncoming vehicles, now again, from left to right, this span from left to right or right to left is a very wide field where the light is being applied. If I turn on the high beam, whoa, we can see everything. So that's really impressive indeed. But even the normal beam, look at that, really impressive field of light, I would call it. And yeah, as I said, so far no one complained. I hope it's also the case that really no one is blinded. And now to our final consumption and real-world range test for today. So we have driven the 106 kilowatt-hour battery, the big one, with the Q8 e-tron 55 and also with the SQ8 Sportback e-tron. The first consumption with the normal Q8 e-tron was about 24 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. Here with the SQ8 e-tron a little bit higher, 25 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That means both round about 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour for our US guys. So the real world range then is 440 kilometers for the Q8 e-tron or 420 kilometers for the SQ8 e-tron. That means 270 miles for the Q8 e-tron or around 260 miles for the SQ8 e-tron. Overall, an acceptable result. The consumption is still quite high, also if you compare it to the competition. However, now, since the battery is so large, it evens that one out. So no, it is not the most efficient one in the segment, but it is the one that also offers one of the best driving experiences in the segment as for comfort and fun, and this combination indeed. Today it's time to take a detailed look at the Mercedes EQS SUV, supposed to be the top electric luxury SUV at Mercedes. So to speak, a GLS EV with Thomas on Autogefühl for you. This in-depth review with a driving part. And here we can see on the exterior closed front grille, star pattern. They have a very round design. I think a problem is that it might look a little bit less premium due to that, but they do it to increase aerodynamics, to improve them. Is it worth it? Would like to hear your opinion of that in the comments. In the lower part we have a quite sporty note, and with a nice blue color here today. The light strip goes all the way across, and this one comes then also with the digital light with an extended high beam function here in this very high spec we have today. The length here is 5 meters 12 or 202 inches. That's longer than the BMW iX, by the way. However, at the later stage there will also be an EQE SUV coming, which will then be shorter. Here you can see long wheelbase. These side steps here, they have an aerodynamic function because underneath the air is being channeled in a better way then. Then the tires here, 20 to 22 inch wheels. These here are the ones in the middle, 21 inch. And we have here the crossover wheel arches, but not in this off-road style, but painted then in black. So a little bit more elaborated, and here you can see it has something of the GLS definitely, but also something of the EQ family. And here's, by the way, that charging port, and charging goes actually quite fast. 200 kilowatt is the maximum peak, and 10 to 80% state of charge is about 32 minutes at a very good public charging station for this 108 kilowatt hour net battery. In the rear here we have this, let's say, visor-alike design going all the way across with a light strip. It's interesting also with this spiraling effect here at the sides and the contrasting black lower area. This one says EQS 580. What does it mean? This is the top model actually. There will be no AMG version of the EQS SUV. Formatic, it's all-wheel drive because we have one electric motor in the rear and one electric motor in the front. Also the same it counts for the EQS SUV 450, has a little bit less horsepower, a little bit less power. And then this 450 version is also available with rear-wheel drive only, if you want to keep the price lower, and it's also better in the efficiency and in the range. In good temperature, climate and so on, we can calculate with some 500 kilometers or 300 miles. In winter times, so far it doesn't have a heat pump yet. I expect they will retrofit it to, let's say, a facelift model or something at later stage. They have to, because in winter times, when it's really cold, actually the ranges are quite heavy at this moment. Well, which one would you go for the top high-spec version, or would you also maybe fancy a rear-wheel drive only version? Might be also more fun, you know, when accelerating out of the corners and so on. Well, but this one here, the EQS 580, how quick is it? And isn't it a beautiful spot here at the Red Rocks, close to Denver, Colorado, just 30 minutes outside the city, and also with a different color. And yeah, you're already seeing it with sunglasses. When you have the white exterior color, then the black panel grille here looks like the car would be wearing sunglasses, doesn't it? Very interesting. So this contrast is stronger, and both the blue vehicle and the white vehicle here have the AMG line exterior. You could also go for the base or electric art, and then this lower area would look a little bit more subtle. This here, the sportier look. In this side profile, you once again see this night package with the dark frames around the windows, also the black mirror caps. And interesting here, this is the one without the side steps here, and I think it works both ways actually. Maybe with the side step looks even cooler. Well, and as it also has an aerodynamic advantage, it's also not too bad. Yeah, sometimes the air suspension makes strange sounds, doesn't it? So what would you prefer, the blue or the white one? And would you go with or without side steps? Well, and sometimes you can have fun, at the same time learn something about the vehicle, because when you have here the parking brake engaged, it's like the lowrider style. I'm not saying you should repeat it with your own vehicle. My point is, you see how the car shakes up statically. You see the air suspension, really softly evening that out. And that to me is a sign of that's how an air suspension is supposed to be. If you have a vehicle with air suspension, it should be that soft that you have this nice shaking up effect that you really feel, yes, this is a soft and good air suspension. We'll find out more about that in the driving part. If it's too soft or if it's exactly right, tell you more about that later. And now the most special technology function, the rear axle steering, either 4.5 degrees, the rear axle in the opposite direction, or optional 10 degrees. And look at that, when you look at the rear axle, so I'm turning the front wheels, of course, and then the rear wheels in the opposite direction, and that kind of fakes a shorter wheelbase. It also looks amazing. You directly see it, like opposite direction in the front wheels at lower speeds. At higher speed it would be then in the parallel direction, and this one really leads to agile driving while driving slowly, or also to an extremely narrow turning circle. You can take a look at that now here on this parking lot. So this is a huge vehicle, it's 5 meters 12 long, or 202 inches, and look at that, it has such a narrow turning circle for such a vehicle. Sometimes you feel like you would be turning just on standstill. You can almost turn around 180 degrees like a U-turn in the middle of the road, and with this kind of a vehicle, that is very impressive. The only thing that I really think is like leading in a totally wrong direction is this option mechanism. When they put the rear axle steering in this vehicle, it is there hardware-wise, and the unlock from 4.5 degrees to 10 degrees is software only, and that's to me customer scam. The manufacturers go in this direction, that they also want to be like these software companies, and then they also want to sell some subscription models for constant cash flow and so on. But to me, when I buy a car, I want the feature in, and when I bought the car, I want that feature if it's in there. You know what I mean? So yeah, not sure if this is going in the right direction. You can understand it from a financial standpoint, yeah, but from a customer respect standpoint, Key fob feels quite heavy, so it's actually good quality. Flush door handles, so they come towards you, also with a sound like and the door closing sound. Quite okay, quite good. Not too bad, not too good. There's also soft close available, but not on this very vehicle here, spec today. Then inside of the doors, this so-called Neotex material is like a, let's say, slicker microfiber. It really feels very nice. Also looks great, and I love that. Like a matte wood with a printed star pattern, but these are real stars you can also feel. That is awesome. Less awesome here, capacitive control inside of the doors, no haptical feedback. This is one button. That's a way Mercedes is not going in a good direction, I think. Steering wheel with #capacitive BS buttons. The bright styling is, of course, pretty cool. You know, that looks quite amazing. In this case, we also have animal skin seats. However, there are also Artico seats available, so they would have a similar surface, but are more sustainable and animal friendly. in bright black or gray styling, depending on the market, if they are available or not. You have then to check the configurator when they are all online. And here, seating position, this is different to the EQS sedan. Here you have a more upright seating position, therefore it is way more comfortable than in the EQS sedan. I really don't like the seating comfort in the EQS sedan. Here it's definitely better. Headroom with 189 or 6'2", still okay, quite good. And then here we have this panoramic roof, and there is, yeah, you know, I really like this bright interior. You have the shade when it's really hot, and when this shade is removed, then you can also open it completely. And I think it's good when you have a panoramic roof that you can actually really open and have that shade for really, really hot days. Just this slider here, and you know, this top console looks amazing styling wise, but to control it while driving is not that good. At least you can, let's see if the interconnection works. Close the sunroof.
I'm sorry, but this function is unavailable.
Not sure why this is unavailable. No, maybe it's a market thing. I have seen it. Or maybe, does it work with opening the sunroof? Open the sunroof.
I'm sorry, but this function is unavailable.
I know, sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, but you can't really trust on that. So controlling the car while driving is sometimes an issue, and that also counts here for the capacitive buttons on the steering wheel. You don't have a feeling for what you're doing. That's really the theme, you know. It looks all fancy, but when you control something, you might get problems. Also here sliding with the volume and so on. Who wants to slide the volume? I don't. Do you? Interior overview with this wow effect, definitely. Here the 580 version has the hyper screen as standard. Otherwise it's an option, and I can just encourage you to keep it lower trim and take the vertical screen without this hyper screen. It's $8,500 or euros extra. If you just have the screen in the middle, you don't have a passenger screen, which no one needs basically, I think, or do you think otherwise? And then you can have more decor element here. That way you also have a lot of black piano lacquer use. It looks amazing, but to me it's more distracting while driving, I think. I love here the star pattern with the matte wood, once again also in the middle console. That is so awesome. And also here how it resonates when you slide it open. And underneath here the cup holders, they are adaptive but not that good for glass or heavier bottles or something. They don't keep them tight. Then there's the inductive charging point in the very front, and here 2 USB-C chargers actually. They also have this illumination in blue. Then here start stop button, volume slider, but this is again one button key. Just here the hazard lights is one. This is a nice animation, right? This is one button because that's just mandatory by law. Then Neotex surface material, you can slide, open it like this, slide opening, and 2 more USB-C chargers. Oh, the batteries are already loading. Here the hyperscreen infotainment system. The software itself will also be the same with the base infotainment system. Temperature control always stays here in the lower area, and we have also a nice reaction from the ambient light to that, for example. Yeah, you cannot turn dials, but it at least stays always in that area. And then this is like the home menu. Interesting are these off-road gauges, for example. They look quite fancy, that you can see how the car is turned, for example. And then you have settings here where you can, for example, change the sound experience. We will do that while driving. You can inside and outside. So yeah, we talk about this while driving. And here you can also change the ambient lighting and have interesting settings, which also, of course, even more appear than at night. So the system is not too complicated, and you see here it's also basically fast enough. When you want to use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, it's also possible. You can choose wireless or wired. I usually go with wired, and the Burmester sound system is actually really very nice. Let's listen to that. And playback not active. Ah, there we go. Oh, JFK speaking. Yeah. Ah, it's a great sound. Wow. That's a great sound, man. Can just recommend the sound system. The instruments always have like a strange angle. I would prefer them to be more upright, I think. But the visualization is quite cool. This is the classic view. You can also have sports gauges like this. Or for example, this understated view. That looks amazing. And then also the map full screen. That is quite helpful, but only works for the car internal GPS or this fancy off-road gauge. So I was just about to open the rear door for you, and then suddenly the vehicle closed itself off. I don't know why. And I had my hand here, and I was like, oh my God, you know. So, but now I'll sacrifice myself for you. Okay, that's not pleasant, but it doesn't kill you. But I mean, when you now think you're not like really here, but more like a close here, and then it's maybe a hand of a child, that can get very ugly. So not a fan of this solution. However, I'm a fan here of the inside materials of the doors, also in the rear, the Neotex once again. This is so lovely, looks great, feels great, awesome. And once again, the wood with the star pattern, that's great. And do you hear that sound? Listen to that. There's speakers underneath the vehicle. You can deactivate it. You can set it on or off. And this is like a sound you get on the interior and the exterior. It's like this, I'm a spaceship. Do you hear that? Not sure how you really hear that on camera. Do we hear it, Michelle? We do? Yeah? Okay, cool. So tell me what you think about this. Yeah, and look at the rear bench. So we know that the EQS sedan has a problem. It looks luxurious in the rear, but it's one of the most uncomfortable rear seating areas in the automotive industry. I really have to say that. EQS sedan. Because, you know, with the battery package and with the rear, back part here of the seat, but here, yeah, that's definitely better. So you sit more upright, it's more relaxing, you have decent leg room here, and the more upright position is so much better than the EQS sedan. So when this is available, no matter if you're a fan of sedan or SUVs, you know, not everyone is a fan of an SUV, but when you really put the facts, comfort and also how it drives and the features it offers, when you decide between EQS sedan and EQS SUV, and some do decide that, you have to go for the SUV for the seating comfort alone, indeed. So, I mean, there are more comfortable cars here also in the rear, but this is really decent. I love here the microfiber cushion. That is my favorite feature, and that makes it also so much more comfortable when you maybe have a chauffeur ride or something, or a shuttle ride, or maybe like the kids are here back there, and this is so relaxing, soft, and it also hinders a little, you know, you don't slide on that around so much. You know that always, like when you have a sliding back restraint and then you wake up and then everything hurts, you know. This really helps with that. The middle part here, yeah, stiff seating surface, and you really feel that here. So not too comfortable in the middle part, but it works space-wise. Then you can fold out this smartphone holder, cup holders. What's that? Like side. This is for the ski hatch. Okay, interesting. They put the strap right here. So this is here how you can put a ski hatch right there. And then here there's a climate unit for the rear, 2 USB C chargers. So it's a very expensive vehicle, and you have here decent seating comfort, but considering the price of the vehicle, I think comfort should be more luxurious here in the rear. What's your take? And yes, you can also electronically adjust the seats here, again with no haptic feedback, but you can see you can slide this part forward or the other 2/3, for example, to make more trunk space or more legroom. So that is possible. And remember, there is also a 7-seater version available for this vehicle, although there won't be too much space in the back there. The only thing is, like, hey Thomas, can't you make it more comfortable? No, I can't. I mean, I can't put this back. This is the most backward position. I can just put it more forward. Yes, that looks weird. Thank you. Now to the trunk or boot. 645 up to 2,100 liters. This is then here the cover, and we have a beautiful beige or bright interior also in the trunk. But it comes with a catch, and I wanted to have this live for you actually. These not so beautiful tissues, and we did put them on there because we had to protect the trunk. We were just putting our suitcases in, and just, from the street, here from the rollers, everything was dirty, so we had to prepare the trunk then and clean it all over again. So then, yes, you can see this nicely cleaned, bright floor. Yes, it's a bad idea. It looks great. That's not a good idea, I can promise you. Then here, the width is a good meter or 40 inches, and the length is even more here at 1 meters 10 or 43 inches, and the overall height right here at the highest position is 76 centimeters or 30 inches. So that's actually quite decent. Underneath here, we have some space for a charging cable, for example, and then we can actually fold the seats from here with an electric function here. Left and right, yeah, press it, let's go. That looks beautifully orchestrated. So, and the total length to the seat as I would be driving is indeed here, this full ruler stick, 2 meters or 78 inches, and then we can also lift them up again. Magic. And as I said, a 7-seater would also be available. If it really makes sense with that vehicle, with the space you have then there, I doubt it. So I would rather stick with the 5-seater version and then have more trunk space. Well, and we also have another interior view. This then is the darker, the black styling in the front here with these beautiful microfiber cushions as well. They are very, very comfortable. In this case, once again, the animal skin seating. You can have both electric art or AMG line for the interior. This one, once again, electric art. AMG line, you could then also go for the sport seats, but they are, once again, as I said, not that comfortable. This on also the electric art steering wheel in the black styling. There is also the AMG line steering wheel available then in the interior AMG line with 2-spoke design. Looks a little bit sportier. So steering wheel wise, the AMG line is a little bit cooler actually. Which one would you prefer? A darker styling or a brighter styling? And you can take a look at the rear as well. Woo! Yeah, and looks quite similar, but we have here this rear entertainment system, and of course I put the best YouTube channel on there. Yeah, hit subscribe if you haven't done so far. So you can also really watch YouTube then here on these rear screens, if the car of course has the web connection then. Another interesting thing here is in the rear that we have this additional middle console. We can fold this one down, and then I have another screen here. And yeah, you can, for example, also control it then from here, and then it is basically mirroring the screen on the left side. You can also take this one out and take it in your hand, and I'm not sure if we ever had a car with this amount of screens. You know, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens in that vehicle here. Well, I would say for 5 people in that vehicle, this is like 6 screens for 5 people, but this one here is also the 7-seater, so then it's okay, right? So this is the button here to fold the seat forward to access the 6 and 7 seat, and you can see here even the passenger seat goes forward, and then like this, and then you also have access to it. I put the second seating row a little bit forward that I could still sit in the second seating row, and the question is, can I fit behind that? Here this 1/3, 2/3 split is of course harder to get than here. Easier to put this one forward, but I really want to test if it's possible for me. Not really. So when I'm sitting in the second seating row with the minimum setup, I cannot sit in the third seating row. Headroom wise, I also don't really fit in here. Well, in here the third seating row, it does not feature ISOFIX. So the question is, what is it for? When I put it forward like this, and you can see, but then I can't use the second seating row. So what is the use of that? So here, by the way, 3 top tethers for the second seating row, and here 2 times ISOFIX. But then here at this one, it is basically just to use. I mean, it's not tall enough for adults. You can't use it for ISOFIX. It's then, like, I don't know, young children who are big enough not to need a special child seat, but are still small enough to fit here. That's the only use case, actually. So I actually think I'd rather stick with a 5-seater. Or what do you think? And when you have the third seating row up, it looks like this. So some space then left here. You can also store then here the cover. That's actually a nice solution. So, and you have to manually push them back like this. And you also have to put in the head restraints. Yeah, like this. So there we go. And then this one. Yeah, we've seen a better solution in the BMW X7, for example. And here, yeah, you know, then it's flat. You lose a little bit of trunk space, of course, as I told you. But then they also forgot, like, why can I pull it here? And I mean, not everyone has, you know, so long arms like I do, and they really have to reach over here and then to the side. It's like, the hell were they thinking, you know? So, yeah, like this. Of course, if you want to do it from the trunk. So in this case then, rather the better solution is to go to the side. Then again you have to open the door and then have this one here sliding forward once again. This also takes time. And then access it from here. So, and yeah, so I think they didn't really think about a real practical solution for that, didn't they? Welcome to the Mercedes EQS SUV driving part. Yeah, glad you made it to here. And we have a beautiful mountain road here close to Denver, Colorado. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, wow, it's so super silent in here. This is a quite rough road terrain-wise, you know, it has no like potholes or something, but just the surface, you know, the tarmac surface. And it's still super silent in here. This car also offers rear axle steering, and you do feel it especially at lower speeds because it feels like the car, you know, would be coming around. It's, you know, is it a necessary feature? It depends on where you live. You know, in the US, for example, it's not really necessary to have that one. It's 4.5 degrees or optional 10 degrees. But for example, in Europe with narrow basement garage or something like that, it is a more necessary feature, definitely. The handling is really nice, and also the steering feel. It gives you a natural feel. You have to steer quite a lot, but that's usually with Mercedes. But it gives you a natural feeling, so no artificial steering artificial steering feel. That's the way I want to take it. Air suspension gives you a nice, soft ride. I love that. At the same time, the car doesn't shake up too much. And although it's a big and heavy SUV, well, the batteries are placed in the central part of the vehicle, in the lower part, and that's why you have a good low center of gravity, and it makes these winding corners also really nice. Highway driving after this part here. And we can also put here to the sports mode, for example. And then the suspension is set on a stiffer note. I also have more reaction from the throttle pedal. And this is actually a helpful feature here for these winding roads, because then the car also stays more upright. Wow, accelerating out here, out of the corner, is really something really amazing. It has some stronger rear motors, so it has some kind of a rear bias, especially when you are in the sports mode. So although you have a big and heavy SUV, it's a lot of fun. It's like a bicycle and motorcycle mix that was. So you can have a lot of fun driving this one, although it's big and heavy and so on. Really, really nice. There are, of course, more fancy features to activate while driving. Not sure if you really need these, but you can, for example, set the ambient lighting here to this multi-color, and then you have this energy shine, and then it reacts here when I'm putting more throttle or am I on the brakes and so on, then the ambient lighting is reacting. You don't need that, but you can have that. And the same goes also for the sound experience. So far I was concentrating on on silence, but you can also go sound experience here, inside and outside. Yeah, let's do it. Silver waves, for example. And then you hear a little bit of feedback, or with the vivid flux, for example. There's more like spaceship style. Or the roaring pulse is a more low frequency sound. You hear that quite a lot as a person inside the vehicle, but on camera it's hardly audible. So I tested before. Silver waves is actually most audible on camera. So yeah, maybe like that. Oh, there's like a, is that a yellow McLaren behind us? Probably want to catch us very soon. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of power here with the 580 all-wheel drive. I said one electric motor in the front, one electric motor in the rear. That's really nice to have. Still some rear-wheel bias. And I mean, it's of course not that I would be hunting these curves here, but I don't get sick, I have no lower back pain or something, and I still have fun driving this vehicle, although it is big and heavy. And that's one of the really, really crucial things. Brake feeling and pedal feeling is also decent. So all the hardware components, all the driving feeling is really excellent. I can just say that. Is it less sporty than an EQS sedan or EQE sedan? I would say with the electric vehicles, since you have this low center of gravity with the SUVs as well, the difference is not that large. So if you think about a comparison, Mercedes S-Class versus GLS or E-Class versus GLE, the sporty driving difference is larger than we would have here, EQS sedan versus EQS SUV. Because of that, battery pack is always there, and it doesn't matter then that much if the car is higher, you still have a sporty, decent driving feeling. That's of course really, really cool. We'll keep you updated with the energy consumption figure later on when we did a full loop actually. This will be very interesting. It won't be better than with the EQS sedan, that's for sure, but I don't suppose it will be much worse either, actually. Of course, it always depends on the conditions. Here, once again, you have a beautiful panoramic route. I hope you also enjoy it with me together. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. And if you need that sound here, it's subtle. It is more present in AMG versions, for example. We had it in the EQE AMG or in the EQS AMG. The EQS SUV will not receive an AMG version, but it will get a Maybach version. Maybach, listen and repeat. Maybach, that's the German lesson for today, because the CH we don't pronounce like k, but k. So Maybach. Yeah, sometimes German language is kind of weird, and yeah, it's also hard to learn. English is so much easier to learn for if you're not a native speaker, definitely. So I'm enjoying here the ride in the EQS SUV, and I would say this is the winding part and driving fun, what they've done with all the hardware side and suspension wise and so on. But what about the normal thing you would do every day, being more on the highway going straight? And now to some highway driving, of course, very, very relevant at the moment at 65 miles per hour. Looks like 110 kilometers an hour. So one of a typical highway speed, especially here in the US. And it is super silent in here. That's always great with the noise insulation. That's something that Mercedes can do very, very well. Very relaxing because we hear nothing from the outside. And yeah, there's a light truck coming to pass us now. And you hear really nothing. That's good that you have the blind spot monitor. I think it's red triangle in the side mirror, and you heard it when I put the turning indicator. Then I also have this acoustic one. Oh, that's the Denver Sheriff. Good that I kept the speed limit, right? Yeah, and it's really relaxing also from the suspension, the air suspension. When we have some waves somewhere, it's really evened out very well. And that's what I love about Mercedes air suspension. They are real air suspensions, and they tell you, hey, I'm an air suspension, I'm the soft deal. That's cool, because sometimes nowadays air suspensions are tuned so harsh that you don't feel the air suspension anymore. And I think when a vehicle has air suspension, it's supposed to give you this floating feeling, I've set the cruise control and also here with the active lane keeping assist, so you can get the highest elaboration of this assistance systems here so far in level 2 is that. And you're supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel still. And you see here these interventions are really smooth, not intrusive, and the vehicle is kept in the lane very easily. And You can also here induce this automatic lane change here. So I did do nothing besides just using the turning indicator with tipping it. And then the car, because you're supposed to bear right, here. Now it cancelled. Not sure why exactly. Oh, that looks fancy with the Kia there, with the yellow daytime running lights in the front. That looks fancy, right, Michelle? You seen that? Nice. Yeah, by the way, nice panoramic view here towards the Rockies, close to Denver. So for cruising, highway cruising here is an ideal vehicle. And one of the key things here about the EQS SUV, if you compare it to the EQS, it's so much more comfortable here. You know, especially with the comfort seats, not the sport seats. I can really recommend you not to go for the sport seats, neither, you know, in the sedans nor in the SUV. And here you just sit more upright, you know. I feel the comfort in the EQS sedan, in the EQE sedan, is not really where it should be because the seat ergonomics are not that great. And here, it's definitely way better. So I think just from this comfort feeling here, the EQS SUV really leads the normal EQS sedan, and we also talked about what happens, you know, what happens for the rear bench. That's even more significant actually, and of course, in the good noise insulation, together with the air suspension, is really a perfect highway cruiser, and it still has a good wind coefficient, and that's really a key thing as well, because the consumption with electric vehicles is so much about wind efficiency, and a little bit lower speeds already a third or something, and here when you're at highway speeds about 2/3, you know, is like the deciding factor of the actual range, what wind efficiency the car has. You know, that is really a very, very crucial thing. So here now, when I'm, for example, canceling the cruise control, when I'm going on the brakes just slightly, then I have some recuperation here in the normal recuperation mode. And yeah, meanwhile, I felt that it's actually quite cool to have a normal, you know, slight recuperation. It's also some kind of a comfort feeling, but you can always have the stronger recuperation here, left pedal, or rolling, no recuperation, or then when you, holding both pedals, intelligent recuperation. And this can at some times be a nice thing in between, because in that case, when the vehicle is in front of me, there is recuperation happening. Like now, I'm not hitting the brake, but the car is decelerating, although there's no cruise control set. Look at that. That's phenomenal. That's awesome, right? I did not use the brakes at all. So that's a very cool thing indeed, and can be like a way of negotiating between one pedal driving feeling and let the car roll. The only thing that is not that good with that is that it is not predictable, you know, and some want to have a very predictable feeling of how is the car decelerating, that it always does the same and not sometimes this, sometimes that. You know, no car in front of me, I leave my foot off the throttle, the car is rolling, you know. And again, this is a good thing on the one hand, but it's making the behavior of the car less predictable in a way. So you can argue pro and con. Would like to hear your feedback on that, definitely. But yeah, highway-wise, wow, what a great cruiser that is. And at the end of our long trip, we will present you now the final consumption figure with our tested EV range. So what about the real-world driving test EV range for today? Indeed, very interesting. I can score here around 36 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. That's about 22 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That means a real-world range here in nice temperatures at 500 kilometers or 300 miles. That's actually really decent. Again, at this moment will be worse in winter times, but I hope when they put a facelift on this vehicle that will also include a heat pump, then this will also be even out. So actually quite a decent range then here for our test today. Ooh, and here in the basement garage looks really fancy with the ambient lighting. Always better to see when it's a little bit darker. A Mercedes GLE size, all electric. Now it is available. Here it is, the Mercedes EQE SUV. The first time here, a full-size SUV, all-electric by Mercedes. A little bit smaller, of course, than the EQS SUV. And we'll tell you all about it here with Thomas and Autogefühl for you. This one here is the EQE 53 AMG, so that sporty AMG version. Solid blue is the interesting color, and here the front grille of the AMG version has these vertical fins. There will be a 43 and a 53 version, then with horsepower difference. And you can see it's all the way closed and has a seamless integration into the headlamps. LED is standard for all EQE SUV, and here the digital light with elaborated high beam function is already standard for that AMG version. In this video here, we will also show you the normal Mercedes version as the EQE 500, and then you can compare both the AMG and the normal Mercedes model. All new AMG models have the new or updated AMG logo here on top of the hood. That's another thing you can directly differentiate. Two big technology highlights for the EQE SUV, which will also have massive impact on the other electric models like EQS SUV, EQE Sedan, EQS Sedan, because the EQE SUV will introduce a heat pump now, finally. You might remember in earlier reviews of the EQE and the EQS sedans, I was saying like it needs a heat pump. And I was also telling the Mercedes engineers that, and they said, we can also do without, it's efficient enough. No, it wasn't. In winter you had like range drops to like half of the range. That will be history now, I hope, because this is now featured with a heat pump as standard equipment. And I suppose they will also update that to the other electric models, then maybe with a model year change or with a facelift or so. Second biggest technology highlight is that you now can basically have a clutch on the front axle for the front electric motor if you have the all-wheel drive version. So the thing is, there is no mechanical link between the front and the rear axle. However, the motors are always running basically, and so when you are in a rolling effect, there is still some resistance. Now you can basically pull a clutch, that's done automatically, and then there's less rolling resistance when the car is just rolling. The heat pump itself will, get you already some efficiency gains, especially in wintertime. This effect in here with the clutch on the front axle for the front motor supposed to bring you some 10% of efficiency gain. So we can calculate that this will easily score some 500 kilometers or 300 miles of range. With this 91 kilowatt hour battery net, there's just this one available. Under the hood also the HEPA filter if you went for that one. Therefore, the only thing you can open is this wiper opening here at the side. You cannot open the hood, it is just done for servicing. Wheels come from 19 to 22 inch. The AMG version here, 21 or 22 inch then, huge definitely. You can also get special brakes for this one. And the suspension setup also varies a little bit. The EQE SUV would usually come with adaptive dampers as standard, optional air suspension, or which is then also standard for the EQS SUV in the AMG version, and then it also has a stiffer setup, but they have the same height. Interesting door steps here, or the side steps here. You might think, that's less efficient. No, it's actually better for the wind coefficient, because in the lower part underneath there's kind of like a curve, which is also then directing the wind stream to the back, and that is actually increasing efficiency. Very interesting. The length here overall is 4.86 meters or 191 inches, and that means lengthwise, if you take a big comparator, the BMW iX, lengthwise it's basically that the iX sits between the EQE SUV and the EQS SUV lengthwise. This one here, wheelbase wise, by the way, has the shortest wheelbase of the Mercedes EQS setup. So this one has a shorter wheelbase even than the EQE sedan, supposed to making it more agile. And if you want to have, let's say, an even shorter faked wheelbase, it comes with rear axle steering. For the normal version, that's an option. Here for the AMG version, it is standard. The only difference is the AMG version has wider tires, and that means 9 degrees of rear axle steering, whereas the normal EQE SUV, the Mercedes setup, has 10 degrees of rear axle steering, where the rear wheels can turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels faking a shorter wheelbase, more agile when it's driving slower, more stability when it's driving faster, and of course massively reducing the turning circle by more than a meter.
Fun fact, if you forgot your hair comb and you're on the way, you can just put your head underneath the vehicle here in the front. Then you have these individual short fins, or it's maybe like crocodile teeth. Well, the reason for that is these here also help increase the wind efficiency because the air is also better channeled alongside the wheel and there's less turbulences. Yeah, looks funny, but brings more efficiency. Yeah, and that's exactly how I helped Michelle to film that here underneath. Well, I wanted to try to comb my hair, but yeah, I can't really reach it.
So you start with the EQE SUV 350, rear electric motor only, then the EQE SUV 500, all-wheel drive, one electric motor in the rear, one in the front, then the 43 AMG, and then the top model here, the 53, which has hardware changes then, so stronger electric motors, or they're upgraded hardware-wise, both rear and in the front. You will in most situations remain with the rear-wheel bias, especially when you go into a sporty driving mode that you have, because the stronger electric motor is also always the one in the rear when you have an all-wheel drive version. Interesting, by the way, here, this curled design of the rear lamp signature in EQE and EQE SUV models, there are like 4 curls. In the EQS and the EQS SUV, there are 5 curls here, so they differentiate that a little bit. Light strip goes all the way through, seamless design. The AMG version then here has a sportier visual part and lower part, also the high gloss black as the contrast in here. The acceleration figure here for the top model, the EQE SUV 53 AMG or Mercedes AMG 53, 3.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. And yeah, you already heard that talking about naming. I also struggle myself, and I think also when you think about like you Google it or you put it in a YouTube search, I think it's a huge problem if you just put EQS SUV, EQE SUV. I would have given them separate names, then you can search for them, find a review of them. Now there will always be messing, it's the EQE or the EQ SUV. You know, it's like saying, hey, there's the Mercedes E-Class SUV. No, they named it GLE for a reason, you know. So what's your take on that? Looking forward to your comments. And recharging with the 200 kilowatt peak, DC charging at a good charging station, then 10 to 80% state of charge in around 30 minutes. Key fob, really good quality here with AMG logo then in the AMG version. Flush door handles are standard for the AMG model or an option for the other ones here. You can grab it in there, and when you close the vehicle, you heard that? It's like an AMG goodbye sound. Well, then the door closing sound is mediocre, I would say. Inside of the doors, this is a so-called Neotex material. It's like a mixture of microfiber and neoprene. It's really cool, actually. Then here you have a soft touch leatherette Artico Ambitex. Nice ambient lighting around this area, but a lot of hashtag capacitive BS buttons. For example, these here do not move. They don't give you a real feedback. And there's more of that, for example, than here also in that vehicle. This is the AMG interior. We'll also soon show the electric art interior and the AMG interior. Here, yeah, you see it's really dark black seats. These are the sport seats with stronger accentuations and also this kind of separate head restraint. They are also available then with Dynamica microfiber on the inside. That would be possible here, for example. Cool is the steering wheel here with microfiber and carbon fiber. And this one is at the moment animal skin, but it will also come in leatherette. So this would then later be an animal skin free steering wheel. It is also then possible with the AMG line or AMG version. Seating position, you sit a little bit more upright than, for example, in the EQE sedan. So this SUV building style definitely has a positive effect. I cannot recommend the sport seats. They are really tight, and especially for tall people like 189 or 6'2". There is enough headroom left, yes, but you somehow feel caged in, and not in a good way, by the seats. So the seat ergonomics is something which Mercedes has to work on at this moment for their new models. Steering wheel up and down, there you find a nice position, and you have a really nice handling here with that steering wheel. Looks great, and also the handling itself and the design tells me, let's attack. Here the interior, you can very well see this hyper screen. It is standard for the 53 model, otherwise it's an option, and I would not go for it optionally. Huge glass here, otherwise you would just have the vertical screen here, and when you start up, it looks of course amazing. But the other simple solution with the smaller vertical screen, to me, is actually easier to control, and you don't need so much screen. And here also the passenger screen, you don't really need that. I love the ambient lighting, that looks cool. And you also have, for example, here this effect when you use the AC, put it colder or warmer, then you have this very, very nice temperature flow effect, for example. So that's very impressive, definitely. And the AMG model also has some special features in the interior. First of all, visually, I mean, here we have, for example, a carbon fiber decor that is then less black piano like I use at least there. And then, for example, we can have this special dynamic select with special AMG gauges. I would say let's take a closer look at that. So here in this screen, this performance gauge, we can see electric motor visualization, for example, the energy flow, here the battery pack in the centralized vehicle, meters of torque, RPM, here like, you know, how the car is leaning and so on. The AMG version has in the 53 an anti-tilt control as well. That's interesting. And there are the driving modes, and for example from comfort to sport, then you have more power on the rear electric motor. You hear this like this subtle growling. You can hear it on the interior and the exterior as well. So sound emulation then here for this vehicle. And another interesting feature is the IWC digital analog clock. Let's take it that way. It looks really interesting, and you can use the start-stop function in here, and it's just like a real stopwatch then. So yeah, it's a funny idea, isn't it? And the panoramic roof goes all the way across. You have this slider when you want to close the sunshade when it's like really hot. But it's also possible then to open it completely. However, you have this capacitive slider here, and yeah, to do that while driving is not that cool actually. So that's the way you can open it completely. That's also possible. The sunshade can also be closed with voice activation, by the way. And now as a comparison, the normal Mercedes version, so the non-AMG version, this one could be a 350 or a 500 EQE SUV. In this case, the AMG line. So that's the reason that the lower graphic here is almost the same AMG line and the 53 or 43 model, but with a different front grille here without the vertical fins. And this micro star pattern is actually an option you can go for, but very beautifully done, definitely. Light strip once again all the way through. This vehicle color here is velvet brown. It has some matte nuances there. You can see, depending on light and shadow, that it's not entirely shiny. Very interesting color, definitely, but I would always go for a very bright Thomas blue, of course. And here we also have the 22-inch wheels, so you can also have 22-inch wheels for the non-AMG versions. And once again, here in the side profile with the side step, has some design similarities with the GLA, doesn't it? You know, when you look a little bit here from the distance. This one also with the shadow lines, so you have the black frames here around the windows and also the top of the mirror caps. So you can also mix it a little bit. So you have AMG line exterior, but that doesn't mean you have to go for AMG line on the interior. So you can vary that depending on what you like. And if you look very closely, the comparison with the AMG had the vehicle color in the wheel arches. Here we have the contrasting, more off-roadish look than here in the normal Mercedes version. So that's again, and also the matte black here, whereas in the AMG, the 53, we had the shiny black here, just as a contrast in the lower part. But I think it works in this case either way, doesn't it? The rear is, other than that, quite similar actually. And let's now take a look at the trunk. Folding the logo here, and then it's 520 liters up to 1,675. The width here, 1.40 meters. The length, a little bit less than 1.40 meters, so it's 95 centimeters here, or 37 inches. And below here, there's limited space for a charging cable. You have to squeeze it in, basically. But of course, easy access, and also here there's even loading sill. The total height right here is 73 centimeters or 29 inches. Then you can see you have different folding options, and to the front seats, the total length here is about it's like 185 meters or 72 inches. And folding this one, you can also fold this one, that is possible. And then there's also this step in between, let's take it that way. The Mercedes GLC also offers that. You can fold up this, like this, and then here you have a more upright seating position, so you have a little bit more trunk length, and the people in the rear sit more upright. That would also be a solution. And now the Mercedes interior. So as I said, only because you picked AMG exterior doesn't mean you have to go AMG interior. So this is the electric art interior, or the base interior. And here they picked a bright styling. You can go for different colors. And very important is, these are the animal skin seats here at this moment. But it's really important that the EQE SUV starts animal free with Artico seats. So this would be, similar in the surface, would also feel very soft, but different stitching then, and would be available in an animal free Artico or the high grade leatherette Ambitex surface in gray, black, and also in a beige style, so you can have different colors there. And then optional, you can go for dynamic on the inside. And very important as well, if you take a look at this steering wheel, that steering wheel would from standard also come with a leatherette animal free surface. Not here for this very vehicle, but the important message is that the EQE SUV as base model in most markets, it depends always on the market specifics, what they decide later on, but in most markets it will start actually animal free. Not in every spec, but they increased the offerings there to reduce the use of resources, also better for animals and the environment. And if you now think about, like this plastic or oil use, it is, when you really, put it all together from cradle to the later recycling, less resources, less oil, less pollution for the whole environment if you go animal free on the interior. That is just scientific fact. It's not about opinion, yes or no, actually. So here in this comfort seat, by the way, so this is also this comfort seat form, whereas we had the sport seat in the AMG version. This one feels a little bit more open and is definitely more comfortable. So my tip would be to go with the base version actually, stick with the comfort seat, pick one of the Artico leatherette surfaces. They're very comfortable, and definitely, especially if you're tall, do not go for the sport seats. This is also a lovely interior choice here. Here it's a matte wood, and then this microstar pattern. So this is actually, really sophisticated. It takes a lot of work to create it in that way. When we slide it open here, by the way, they are cup holders, and you can press them, but they do not hold bottles properly tight, especially if they are glass bottles or so on. We know them from the EQS and EQE sedans, and yeah, they are indeed not ideal. Inductive charging, but here 2 USB-C chargers, and then if we close it again, there is once again more of this hashtag capacitive BS, and it's one button. And I really think about, why would they do that? Like, normally if I press here or here, it's one button. Doesn't that look cheap and feel cheap? I have no idea how they can do that. So it might look fancy and clean, but then when you touch it, it's not that great. I love, however, this split armrest opening. That's actually quite cool. So, and then 2 more USB-C chargers, and wow, that's a lot of space there. Here we can once again very well see the ambient lighting, and you can have also the energy shine, and it reacts also on acceleration and braking. We have also videos on that from the EQS, for example, from the EQS sedan. That looks really amazing. And by the way, here you have this base electric art steering wheel. So the AMG had the 2 horizontal spokes here. This one then with, like this two clutter designs, so to speak, also with capacitive buttons. And this has a little bit more elegance, the other one sportiness. And then this one slot, I said slot design here in the lower part. Digital instruments, you can pick your styles, like this understated view, for example, sports view, classic view. You also have the map full screen or something, assistance systems. Oh, off-road is also quite interesting to look at. Wow. And there's also a head-up display available. And here on the passenger screen, you can also have some personalized background pictures. Really beautiful, isn't it? I know, it's that video where I always have to go underneath the vehicle to show you even more features. Not only of this wind comm in the front or the side steps here, but when you actually open the vehicle, there is a sound emulation of this, like, ooh, it's an electric spaceship coming up. Let's listen to that. Do you hear that? There are actually speakers underneath the vehicle going like this. Ooh, welcome to the electric Mercedes world. Yeah, it's really funny. Do you like it or not? Tell me in the comments. And we have, of course, still the rear of that vehicle. And you can already see the big advantage of the SUV is, although we have a shorter wheelbase, due to this more upright seating position, we will have more legroom and will we also have more comfort, because you might remember one of our biggest criticisms with the EQE sedan and the EQS sedan was that the rear seating comfort is extremely bad in these. And here in the SUVs, it's indeed way better, because you have the more upright seating position, and the backrest in the sedans is really upright, and it doesn't fit to the rest of the lower bench. And here you have a better seating angle then, especially if you're taller. Also still legroom left. This is the seat as I would be driving as a tall person, and also headroom in the rear is actually no problem. I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable car ever here in the rear, but definitely way more comfortable than the sedans. Also using that EV platform, no middle tunnel. Therefore you can also sit in the middle part. It's a little bit stiff than here at the rear. No wrong ideas here. Yeah, for short waist maybe, but 5 tall adults can easily be housed here. You have a separate climate unit. In the lower part here you have 2 more USB-C chargers. And then you can have here either like this smartphone holder, or you have to be gentle like this, and then you have more cup holders here. So overall, I really have to say, when you compare EQE, EQE SUV, EQS, EQS SUV, this EQE SUV here is the best choice. You now have the heat pump. You have this clutch or this decoupling of the front electric motor if you have an all-wheel drive version for better efficiency. You have better rear seating comfort than in the sedans. And this one is not as expensive and not as large as the EQS SUV. So to me at this moment, the EQE SUV seems to be their best offering in their electric lineup. Then again, when you keep it base version, pick the animal-free seating and even steering wheel version, you have a also forward-going sustainable interior then, and can also keep the price low, leave out the hyperscreen and stuff, 8,500 euros extra. So then you can more or less have a good entry version of the EQE SUV and profit from this increased efficiency here. So which one would I take home today and why? Well, the Tesla Model X is of course a super interesting and very unique car. I mean, look at these Falcon wing doors, and then when you sit on the interior with this huge panoramic roof and this new interior with the yoke steering wheel, it is such a unique vehicle indeed, and of course has the best hardware behind the software, a super fast map and so on and so on. And they do have the Tesla supercharging network. Of course, it is also by far the quickest in the test with this new Plaid version. Of course, you don't really need so much power. It is really extreme in the acceleration. It offers a lot of space, especially as for the trunk capacity. When you have the captain seat set up, you don't have too much legroom at all, but there is indeed the best trunk with this huge hole in the back available. It also has good comfort and driving dynamics, and they also worked on the noise insulation. In reliability figures, recently by Consumer Reports, Tesla and also Mercedes don't score so well, their Audi and especially BMW did better. What I still don't understand is that Tesla does not offer Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Yes, they say their infotainment is just better and you don't need it because the voice input is also good, but still, people do want Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I think. And the Tesla Model X also has a completely animal-free interior, also with these new perforated seats, good comfort and also with less impact. Well, then talking about the BMW iX, it has, the styling with this beaver front grille rather than a double kidney. Not everyone likes it. I found it also doubtful. The rest of the car is actually cool design, and especially I love the interior styling. That's really awesome. The seat choices that BMW offers is also very good. Starts with perforated sensor tag in 3 different colors. And they also soon upgraded to an animal-free steering wheel, which will have the same durability and material quality. The BMW iX is also very comfortable, and both the Tesla Model X and the BMW iX share approximately the same electric range and also the efficiency. So they both come in a realistic term about 500 kilometers or 300 miles. Driving dynamics wise, of course, the Model X Plaid could be rather compared in closest to the BMW iX in the M60 trim. There, the M60 is also really quick and also offers even more driving dynamics, but the difference between the M60 and the base iX is not that large. That's a thing definitely with the electric vehicles, that the performance versions are never that much different. The Audi Q8 e-tron, so it now received that Q8 badge, is also a very refined car, also with a very good interior build quality, and somewhat also the easiest user interface in the test. That's what I appreciate most about the Q8 e-tron. It also drives very, very well. It does have somewhat, especially in the non-SQ8 version, does have the issue that it has some low frequency sounds when you're running over bumps at slow speeds. The SQ8 with the wider tires doesn't have that much, and because the noise insulation is so good, you tend to hear these other noises than that they appear in the vehicle. But overall, the Q8 and the SQ8 e-tron, they are both a phenomenal ride, they're a lot of fun to drive, and it's also a very, very good vehicle at all. But the efficiency is the worst actually of all of these vehicles. They have upgraded the battery majorly, yes, so you will get a decent range of something about 400 kilometers or 250 miles, maybe even a little bit less. So it's kind of okay now, but it's still one of the worst efficiencies and ranges in the test. There you can see that the non-dedicated EV platform doesn't do the best job. It's not the most efficient vehicle here out there. As for recharging, the Q8 e-tron is also great. All of these vehicles here today in the test have very good recharging figures, so you can quickly recharge them also when you drive fast autobahn, motorway and so on. That also counts for the Mercedes models. As I said, EQS SUV and EQE SUV in the front rather kind of similar. Then towards the back, the EQS SUV has just a little bit more length, wheelbase, more space and so on. But it won't make the biggest difference actually. The most important thing to me at this moment is, when we are producing this video here, the EQE SUV has the heat pump, the EQS SUV doesn't have it yet. And that's kind of the thing, because the EQE and the EQS models as sedans, and also the EQS SUV, they lack of range in wintertime. It kind of cuts the range in half sometimes, and therefore the Mercedes model do need a heat pump. The EQE SUV gets it now, and so the range losses in wintertime will be less. So in summertime, the Mercedes electric vehicles here score also very good range figures, but not yet in wintertime. We have to see if this one will be better than with the heat pump with the EQE SUV, but will surely be better than so far. With the Mercedes EQE SUV and EQS SUV, the thing is that they don't have an easy user interface at all. When you go for that hyper screen, that is an option, or depending on sometimes also standard when you go for the AMG model, for example, that is kind of like a screen overload, and I think the base setup would also be enough. Build quality wise and impression wise, and especially seat comfort wise, however, it is not that convincing if you compare it to the other models. And what is also lacking, especially for customers in the US, neither Mercedes nor Audi is offering animal skin seat alternatives especially for the US customers. There are some available for the European customers, but especially not in the US, where these cars are also majorly sold indeed. And so if you combine everything, like the electric things, recharging is fine with all, but then about efficiency and range, then about the interior comfort, then animal-free materials in the interior, looking forward also in this respect and really taking sustainability seriously, because these vehicles here are about combining luxury and sustainability as good as possible at this moment. And when we also take reliability into account for the whole brand, where BMW scored the best just after Toyota and Lexus in the recent consumer reports, my overall verdict is that I would at this moment go for the BMW iX. It has great driving dynamics. Yes, it doesn't have my favorite front grille, so it's not my design favorite. My design favorite actually would be the Audi Q8 e-tron. But then again, the BMW iX is more efficient, has higher electric range, therefore has a great interior, has great animal-free choices, will also come with the animal-free steering wheel. So the overall mix, maybe the trunk is a little bit too small. But other than that, the BMW iX has a good modern approach and ticks all of the boxes we need for electric vehicles. Yes, design-wise, as I said, the Q8 e-tron is my absolute favorite, and I love it for its easiest user interface, but it just can't do enough as an electric vehicle. The Tesla is also a very unique and super interesting approach, definitely, but some things are maybe over the top for a car customer that doesn't want all the most unique and everything is different stuff, you know what I mean? Just like the Falcon doors that are not really that practical. And the Mercedes vehicles are definitely also great EV SUVs, yes, but they don't have something so much standing out as it used to be, from Mercedes, from different segments, where you say like, hey, I need this vehicle, you know what I mean? So then overall, the BMW iX is my pick at this moment. Which one would be yours and why? Tell me in the comments, and also now join us for more interesting comparison episodes.